Chapter 3720. People tended to follow blindly. When they saw Ling Han staying here, they all thought that there were some treasures or clues to the sage's inheritance, so they started searching outside the canyon. But no matter how hard they tried, they found nothing. In fact, there was nothing here. After a while, the team finally left helplessly. When night fell, Princess Bai Xiao returned with sixth baby. Not far away, the army of corpses on the ancient battlefield stood up again. Ling Han let out a long roar and charged in. Princess Bai Xiao's mouth was half open. "This is what you want to verify?" She didn't even have the energy to complain. If Ling Han walked out now, she would definitely touch his forehead to see if he had a high fever and was confused. Speechless, she was really speechless. Ling Han did not use any external power and merely used his fists to battle fiercely. Peng, peng, peng. His battle prowess was astonishing, and with a single punch, at least a dozen skeleton soldiers were sent flying. White bones fell like rain. After a long night, the corpse army fell at the same time. Ling Han smiled. He had guessed correctly, because he felt that the power of heaven and earth had stamped another stamp on him. Could this have something to do with obtaining the sage's inheritance? Over the years, many geniuses must have come here, and there was no lack of amazing talents. Perhaps they weren't as monstrous as Ling Han, but there were definitely seedlings who could become sages. Why didn't any of them obtain the sage's inheritance? This meant that it wasn't just a matter of talent, but that they didn't meet the selection criteria of Sage Gu Yang. Therefore, Ling Han believed that talent alone was useless. Maybe it would be the same for any great emperor who came here at a young age, and they would still return disappointed. This stamp was most likely a key point. "Can we go now?" Princess Bai Xiao said angrily. She was about to be mad at Ling Han. Ling Han shook his head. "Let's wait for a few more days." "Still waiting?" Princess Bai Xiao's mouth twitched. "Don't tell me you want to continue fighting there at night?" "You're really smart," Ling Han said with a smile. Princess Bai Xiao was instantly driven mad. "Are you a battle maniac? Did you not fight enough yesterday?" Although she was mad, she could not leave Ling Han alone. To her, the sage's inheritance did not seem to be that important. As long as she had such a person by her side, even if she was angered half to death, she would still feel sweet. Throughout the day, another 7 teams walked out of the ancient battlefield and entered the canyon. Seeing that Ling Han's group was actually in a daze in the valley, they couldn't help but reveal looks of disdain. What an idiot! He came early and didn't hurry up and move on. He was just sitting here and wasting time. Ling Han just smiled. There were at least a few million people who had entered this place before them. Why had none of them succeeded? Therefore, time was not the most important factor. Even if it was early, it would be useless. When night fell, Ling Han rushed into the ancient battlefield and continued fighting. A night passed, and Ling Han was once again stamped with another stamp. "Are you still not leaving today?" Princess Bai Xiao said helplessly. "Tisk, you're not only smart now, but you can also read minds." Ling Han laughed. Princess Bai Xiao only rolled her eyes at him and did not want to speak at all. These few days were the peak of passing through the ancient battlefield. Every day, there would be several teams passing through, and the highest number was 17 in one day. The reason why it was so late was probably because they had thought of a way to gather the people who had entered separately before starting to enter the ancient battlefield. There were many teams that invited Ling Han to join them, but they were all tactfully rejected by Ling Han. He had already fought here for 4 days. Every time he fought until the morning of the second day, a stamp would appear on his wrist. It could not be seen with the naked eye, and every stamp would overlap in the same place. He already had 5 stamps. Was it still not enough? It only took 3 days to pass through the ancient battlefield. Even if he walked slowly, the 4 days would have passed. In this case, he would need to fight for another 3 nights. Ling Han had already fought for 5 nights, but it was still the same. Could it be that his train of thought was wrong? Could the stamps stack up infinitely? This thought only flashed through Ling Han's mind for a moment before he threw it out. Even if that was the case, he would stick to his original idea until the end. On the path of cultivation, there were times when he would hit a wall and not turn back. From the 5th day onwards, The number of teams that passed through the ancient battlefield became fewer and fewer, dropping to 2 or 3 a day. On the 8th day, Ling Han met a team. This was not strange. What was strange was that Ho Qingbai was in the team. When enemies met, their eyes turned red. When Ho Qingbai saw Ling Han, he immediately revealed a cold smile and said, "Whoever kills this person for me, I will give him 5,000 Dao stones." The reason why he increased the bounty by 5 times in one go was because he wanted to personally see Ling Han die in front of him. However, no one accepted this mission. The members of their team were all descendants of the great sects and wealthy families. Although the 5,000 myriad Tao stones moved their hearts, they were also people who wanted face. No one could afford to lose their face by listening to someone else's orders. Seeing that, Ho Qingbai gritted his teeth and said, "Add another Misty Cloud Immortal Stone." This time, everyone revealed a look of interest. The Misty Cloud Immortal Stone was a 2-star material. Not only that, it was also a telekinesis tool. Because there were too few telekinesis materials, their value was much higher than materials of the same level. Moreover, there was no market for them. Ho Qingbai was willing to take out the Misty Cloud Immortal Stone. It seemed that he really hated Ling Han. With a great reward, there would be brave men. The temptation of a telekinesis tool was too great. "I'll do it. I'll do it. Let me do it." Immediately, 5 people rushed out and attacked Ling Han together. So what if he was an array master? He was just a native of a backward land. Ling Han moved, only dodging and not attacking. His reaction was in line with everyone's understanding. With 5 geniuses working together, how could Ling Han still have the strength to fight back? Of course, he could only dodge. "Since you've made a move, then finish it quickly," a man in white said coldly from the team. Alright. There were a total of 12 people in this team. Immediately, 3 of them attacked Ling Han, while the other 4 closed in on Princess Bai Xiao and 6th baby. "Ling Han, if you continue to flee, these 2 beauties, one big and one small, will suffer a calamity," the white-robed man said. He held a sword in his hand, his face filled with killing intent. "Brother Hai, I like this beauty," Ho Qingbai said quickly. He only wanted Ling Han to die, but he hadn't played with Princess Bai Xiao yet. If he wanted to kill her, he would have to wait until he was tired of playing with her. "Shut up, wasting everyone's precious time for your trivial matter. You're still full of women. You're a pig," the man in white scolded. If it wasn't for the fact that Ho Qingbai had taken out a large amount of Dao stones to join this team. First, he set a small goal for himself, for example, a bookmark. Chapter 37:21. He looked at Princess Bai Xiao with some reluctance. This woman was really beautiful and had a kind of elegant temperament, unlike the women he used to play with. The man in white pointed the tip of his sword at Princess Bai Xiao and said indifferently, "I am at the ultimate foundation establishment realm. I only need 1 strike to kill someone at the peak of the human foundation establishment realm. Ling Han, I will count to 3. If you dodge again, I will attack." The white-robed man pointed the tip of his sword at Princess Bai Xiao and said calmly, "I'm at the pinnacle level of the foundation building tier. I only need 1 strike to kill someone at the peak stage of the foundation building tier. Ling Han, I'll count to 3. The man in white pointed the tip of his sword at Princess Bai Xiao and said indifferently, "I am at the ultimate foundation establishment realm. I only need 1 strike to kill someone at the peak of the human foundation establishment realm. Ling Han, I will count to 3. If you dodge again, I will attack." Despicable! Princess Bai Xiao scolded angrily. It was not difficult to kill Ling Han, but he did not want to waste time. He wanted to end the battle as soon as possible. Since the result was the same, why care about the process? He never cared about the means. Ling Han snorted and said, "Do you really want to die?" Ho Qingbai had a sect master-level background. Once he was killed, as long as he was not silenced, it was very likely to attract a sect master-level power. With the current foundation of martial art of Heavenly Sea Star, how could they withstand the power of a sect master? Although the Heavenly Dao Fire could destroy a sect master-level power, what if it attracted the Golden Origin Holy Land? In response to Ho Qingbai's words, Ling Han naturally would not hold back, but if he wanted to silence the others as well, to be honest, it was not that Ling Han was soft-hearted or overly sentimental, but if he wanted to implicate the innocent for the sake of killing one person, he would not be able to live with his conscience. Therefore, he mainly dodged from the beginning. He wanted to see if these people were worthy of his mercy. Now, the result had been revealed. Courting death, Ling Han's killing intent was firm. He no longer dodged, but faced the attack head-on. The man in white sneered. 1 against 8, he could immediately see Ling Han being blasted into pieces. Ho Qingbai was also excited. Ling Han had made a fool of him. Every time he thought about it, he was ashamed and angry. Now, this hateful guy was finally going to die, Such excitement also diluted his disappointment at not being able to get Princess Bai Xiao. Boom! Ling Han punched out with both of his fists. One of his fists was wrapped in the heavenly Tao flame, while the other was wrapped in the destructive energy. He used the demon monkey fist to attack at a frequency of 108 overlapping forces. How terrifying was the power of such a punch! With 2 punches, 2 of the 8 opponents immediately fell. Both of them had their chests pierced through. Then, one of them was burned to ashes, while the other turned into nothingness. Lean. The remaining 6 people stopped their attacks at the same time. This opponent was too terrifying. He was like a god of death. The expression of the man in white also changed, and a strong chill rose in his heart. Only Princess Bai Xiao revealed a cold smile. You guys just had to seek death. Now that Ling Han has shown his might, are you satisfied? Take her down. Take her down. Ho Qingbai was the calmest at this moment. He pointed at Princess Bai Xiao. The white-clothed man nodded. You guys keep him occupied. I'll take down this woman. In fact, he was extremely regretful in his heart. If he had known this would happen, he would have shut Ho Qingbai up. From Ling Han's attitude at the beginning, it was clear that he had chosen to endure silently. However, they had courted death themselves, forcing Ling Han to make a move. Now, the god of death had raised his butcher's knife. He brandished his sword towards Princess Bai Xiao, wanting to take down this woman as soon as possible. This was their only chance of survival. Bang bang bang. The sounds of fighting behind him didn't stop. The white-clothed man didn't have time to pay attention to it. Right now, he only had one thing on his mind, and that was to take down Princess Bai Xiao. However, although Princess Bai Xiao's strength wasn't as good as his, she was wearing armor. It would take some time to take her down. His heart was anxious, and his attacks fell like rain. Brother hi. Ho Qingbai's trembling voice sounded. What's the matter? The white-clothed man asked impatiently. Couldn't he see that he was busy? And all of this was because of Ho Qingbai. Brother hi. Ho Qingbai's voice was filled with tears. The white-clothed man looked back, and his expression changed. This was because apart from him and Ho Qingbai, the others were gone. Of course, they hadn't run away. Instead, they had been turned into ashes by Ling Han's heavenly flame or destruction energy. Ho Qingbai's face was as pale as paper. He had seen with his own eyes how Ling Han had killed one of them with a single punch. A living person had disappeared right in front of him. This kind of shock and fear was something that couldn't be erased. The white-clothed man couldn't help but stop. His entire body was trembling. In just a minute, 10 of his companions had been killed by Ling Han. Continue, Ling Han said indifferently. Continue my ass. How could he continue? He clenched his teeth and said, I admit defeat. I won't interfere with the matters between you and him anymore. Brother hi. Ho Qingbai's face turned green. He had been scared silly by Ling Han. If he had to face him alone, he wouldn't even have the courage to fight. The white-clothed man pretended not to hear. Between his own life and Ho Qingbai's, the white-clothed man wouldn't hesitate to choose himself. Ling Han said indifferently, Continue. Ling Han, I admit defeat. The white-clothed man shouted. His heart was filled with shame. He had actually said such words twice. I'm telling you to continue. Ling Han said coldly. The white-clothed man clenched his teeth. You won't let me go, will you? A crazed expression appeared on his face. Since that was the case, he would go all out. Xiao, his figure charged out, continuing to attack Princess Bai Xiao. Right now, she was his only life-saving talisman. An indescribable pressure assaulted him. All the muscles in his body involuntarily contracted, and he felt a strong sense of fear. He turned around in shock, only to see an ancient stone appear on Ling Han's chest. It emitted a boundless ancient aura, as if it had existed since ancient times. This was the foundation stone of the immortal Tao. He naturally knew that a high-level foundation stone could greatly suppress a low-level foundation stone, but the problem was that he was also a paramount foundation establishment cultivator. How could he be suppressed by someone else's foundation stone? Absolutely not. Ling Han cracked a smile. Very surprised, right? The white-clothed man nodded and said in a low voice, "Did you cultivate some secret technique, or did you fuse some kind of treasure when you were cultivating your immortal foundation? Take a guess." Ling Han said. However, even though he said that, he did not give the white-clothed man a chance to guess at all. His fist had already swung over. The white-clothed man hurriedly blocked. Peng, as a one-star genius of the Paramount Foundation establishment realm, his strength was still relatively strong. Even though Ling Han had halved his strength, he still managed to block this attack. Of course, his figure staggered, and his face was also slightly pale. Peng, before he could say anything, Ling Han's second punch had already smashed over. Then came the third and fourth punch. Each punch was faster and more ferocious than the last. The white-clothed man barely managed to block more than 30 punches. In the end, he had no more strength left, and was forcibly blown apart by Ling Han. As the heavenly Tao fire swept over, not even his bones remained. Only Ho Qingbai was left. Ho Qingbai's expression was sullen. At this time, he was truly filled with regret. If he had known that Ling Han was so ferocious, he definitely would not have provoked him here. Chapter 3722. Ho Qingbai was extremely regretful, but it was already too late. He hated himself. Why was he in such a rush? Why couldn't he let others deal with Ling Han? Why did he have to provoke Ling Han here? Why did he have to do it himself? "Don't kill me," he said with a trembling voice. "I can give you money, a lot of money, and also treasures. My father is a sect master. No matter what treasure you want, he can get it for you." Ling Han patted his shoulder and said, "Don't be afraid. I'm actually a very easy person to talk to." Ho Qingbai immediately revealed a happy expression. It turned out that Ling Han was a person who loved money. This was easy to deal with. What he lacked the least was money. "I will definitely satisfy you," he said. "Ancient." Ling Han nodded, but when he slapped Ho Qingbai, he used destruction energy. It instantly spread from Ho Qingbai's shoulder to his entire body. Ho Qingbai's face was filled with disbelief. "Didn't you promise to spare my life?" "I forgot to tell you that I like to joke more." Ling Han laughed. "The ups and downs are very exciting, right?" "Exciting your sister." Ho Qingbai wanted to curse, yet he was unable to make a sound. His vitality had already been annihilated by the destructive energy, and his figure instantly tilted to the side. Before he could even fall to the ground, his entire body had already been obliterated and vanished. "Ling Han, I'm sorry. All of this was because of her. Otherwise, Ling Han would not have gone against Ho Qingbai, and he would not have had to kill so many people. Everyone here had a powerful background. Once the truth was revealed to the world, Ling Han would be in great trouble." Ling Han laughed heartily. "There are too many debts to worry about. Moreover, I don't need these small fries." He had even set fire to a sacred ground, so he really didn't care about a mere sect master. Besides, there was no one left alive. As long as the three of them kept quiet, there was no need to worry. Ling Han put away all the spatial artifacts left behind by Ho Qingbai and the others, but there were pitifully few Dao stones, because these people all had connectors, and their wealth was virtual. From this, it could be seen how rich the Chang clan, who ran the interstellar network, was. This was because every universe coin's corresponding Dao stone was controlled by them. That night, Ling Han battled the corpse army again. He had made up his mind to fight to the death here. Even if he gained nothing in the end, he would have no regrets. On the path of cultivation, one needed to have the determination to not look back even if they hit a wall. Otherwise, How would they be able to overcome those difficulties? If they were to shrink back when they encountered setbacks and look for other methods, they were destined to have no fate with becoming the strongest. 8 days, 10 days, 15 days. There were already 16 stamps on Ling Han's wrist, but nothing had changed. If there was anything, it would be that his cultivation had finally reached the peak of the foundation establishment stage. This did not seem to be related to the real celestial body. The power of heaven and earth was completely unsuitable for cultivation. At most, it could only replenish the mystic energy that had been consumed. It was lacking something crucial. In theory, Ling Han's cultivation should have remained stagnant. However, he had previously eaten a large number of silver arowana and took the greenwood spirit replenishing pill every day. His accumulation was quite vigorous. Most importantly, he had to fight intensely every night, drawing out all the benefits of the silver arowana in his body. I can break through to the Heaven Foundation establishment stage, Ling Han said to himself. Breaking through to the Heaven Foundation establishment stage required the treasure fruit of life. He had already prepared for this. Previously, when he was still outside, he had bought 10 treasure fruits of life of the Foundation establishment stage. He believed that it should be enough. How to go from the Foundation establishment stage to the Heaven Foundation establishment stage? It was simple. On the basis of the Foundation establishment stage, he had to throw away the impurities and use the essence as the core to rebuild the immortal foundation. This was the foundation of the heavenly Tao. Therefore, the foundation of the heavenly Tao was definitely more perfect than the foundation of the human Tao. This was a level higher than the foundation of the human Tao, so it naturally had a suppressive effect on the foundation of the human Tao. However, for Ling Han, his foundation of the human Tao was already perfect. It could even suppress the foundation establishment stage. Even the sage emperors could not make his foundation of the human Tao lower its head. How could he improve further? But what could he do? If he couldn't complete this transformation, his cultivation would be limited here. Cauldron forging, pill forming, sage, ancestral king, none of that mattered to him anymore. Was it a mistake to cultivate too perfectly? Because the foundation of the immortal Tao was too perfect and he couldn't improve further? Wouldn't people laugh at him? How could he solve this? Since I've already cultivated the foundation of the immortal Tao to perfection and can't advance to the next level, I'll look at it from another angle. I'll build another foundation of the heavenly Tao. Ling Han thought to himself. No one said that there could only be one foundation of the immortal Tao, right? The ignorant were truly fearless. No matter where you went, who didn't know that the foundation of the immortal Tao was the same? The foundation of the Heaven Foundation and the foundation of the Paramount Foundation were just constantly evolving the foundation of the immortal Tao until it reached perfection. 2 or even 3 foundation stones. Unheard of. Just because it hasn't happened before doesn't mean it's impossible. Maybe there are great emperors and sages who have already formed the 3 foundation stones, but no one knows about it. But so, what if no one has ever formed the 3 foundation stones? I will make history. Ling Han left the entrance of the valley. Even if more than 10 days had passed, who knew if there was someone who was especially slow and had just passed the ancient battlefield? Building a second foundation stone of the immortal Tao sounded simple, but from ancient times until now, no one had ever heard of such a thing. Putting aside the question of whether or not it would work, even if it did, the difficulty level would be astonishing. Ling Han sat down cross-legged and started building his second foundation of the immortal Tao. He had already experienced it once, so it was a walk in the park for him. But the problem was that the second foundation of the immortal Tao had just condensed into a single particle when the original foundation of the immortal Tao seemed to feel threatened. It shook lightly and shattered the second foundation of the immortal Tao. This was an imitation of the ancient immortal gate and could suppress all foundation of the immortal Tao. This applied to Ling Han as well. The newly formed foundation of the immortal Tao was no match for it. Ling Han was depressed. The foundation of the immortal Tao was so perfect that it couldn't be transformed. If he couldn't even build a second foundation stone, would his cultivation path really be over? Ling Han immediately gathered his confidence. He had never heard of a reason that cultivation was too perfect and couldn't advance. He couldn't build the second foundation stone because he hadn't tried hard enough. Or rather, he hadn't found the right method. In any case, Ling Han didn't have a clue, so he stopped breaking through and continued to battle the army of corpses. As a result, when the next morning arrived, he had another chapter. Another day passed. No matter how he tried to condense the immortal Tao foundation stone, he couldn't escape the fate of being shattered. The problem was that condensing the immortal Tao foundation stone came at the cost of his life essence. Even if it was destroyed, the consumption was still real. After 2 days, he used up 2 treasure fruits of life. Phone reading was more refreshing. Chapter 3724. Ling Han's spirit was lifted as he used his own life essence to nourish the second immortal foundation. It had finally passed its most vulnerable period. Now, it was like a baby crying piteously for food, greedily absorbing Ling Han's life force. Soon, Ling Han had no choice but to eat another treasure fruit of life. Otherwise, his origin would be greatly consumed. However, the second immortal foundation was like a bottomless pit. It still hadn't reached the stage of completion and was still absorbing life force. Damn, are you trying to suck me dry? Ling Han cursed in his mind. However, he also knew that he was building a perfect immortal foundation, so the consumption was naturally great. Moreover, other people's heavenly Tao foundation was built on the foundation of humanity, so the consumption was naturally small. But what about him? Starting from 0, how could the consumption be compared to before? Let's do it. Ling Han ate 1 treasure fruit of life after another. After a few hours, all 9 treasure fruits of life were used up. However, the problem was that the second immortal foundation still hadn't completely stabilized. At this point, how could he give up halfway? Ling Han could only grit his teeth and use his own life force to supply. At most, he would live a few years less. He was still very young, and foundation establishment had a lifespan of 1,000 years. Advancing to Heaven Foundation would give him around 300 years of lifespan. It would be fine if he gave up these 300 years, right? Boom, at this time, a powerful life force suddenly surged out of his body and replaced the consumption of his lifespan. But what is this? Ling Han was startled for a moment, then he reacted. He had eaten several treasure fruits of life restoration during the Metal Origin Fruit Festival. At that time, he didn't feel any changes, but now he could feel the effects. With the addition of this huge life force, the second immortal foundation finally stabilized after absorbing life force for a while and stopped absorbing. Ling Han was slightly anxious. His 2 foundation stones of celestial Tao were practically incompatible like fire and water. If he removed the suppression of the primal chaos extreme thunder tower and stored both of his celestial foundation stones into his consciousness, would they directly start fighting? This was his sea of consciousness after all. If it was destroyed, it would be a big problem. But he couldn't stay like this forever, right? Ling Han put away the primal chaos extreme thunder pagoda and the first immortal foundation into his sea of consciousness. In an instant, the 2 foundation stones of the immortal Tao emanated a domineering and ancient aura as they stood in opposition to each other. Ling Han heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, they did not fight in the end. It was good that they didn't fight. Right now, the second immortal foundation was only the size of a soybean and couldn't compare to the first immortal foundation, which was the size of a well lid. However, in terms of quality, it wasn't any weaker and was enough to fight against the first immortal foundation. After all, they were all a part of Ling Han's body. At most, they would just be throwing a little tantrum. It was just that the second celestial base was really too weak previously, and the slightest fluctuation of emotions would be enough to shatter it. The power of heaven and earth here was extremely thin, and it was almost impossible to cultivate. Ling Han naturally wouldn't waste any time. He stood up and gently moved his arms and legs, feeling the majestic feeling of power. The leap from human foundation to heaven foundation was enough to raise Ling Han's battle prowess by 2 stars. Right now, he could even bully a 5-star genius who had reached the foundation establishment stage. Looking at the sky, there was still about an hour before nightfall. Ling Han was full of anticipation. In a bit, he would use the corpse army to test his current strength. At this time, thunderclouds rolled in the sky and gathered towards him. The heavenly tribulation was coming. As expected, a figure made of lightning entered Ling Han's sea of consciousness, wanting to erase his consciousness. "Die!" shouted the inner demon. Pang! Ling Han directly used the 6 words Wisdom King incantation to blast it. After a few dozen strikes, the inner demon's whole body cracked and shattered into pieces. A warm energy surged out, nourishing his spirit and suddenly strengthening it. The inner demon wasn't completely without benefits. Once it was destroyed, it would become pure energy that could nourish the soul. "Father!" Ling Han. 6th baby and Princess Bai Xiao ran over. They had seen the dense thunderclouds. "You actually broke through to Heaven Foundation establishment here." Princess Bai Xiao's face was full of shock. This was too unbelievable. One had to know that the power of heaven and earth here was not suitable for cultivation. How did he do it? Moreover, this time was too short. She had clearly broken through to Heaven Foundation establishment first, and she had even cultivated in the Golden Origin Holy Land for a year. Such good conditions had not helped her break through to Heaven Foundation establishment. Ling Han smiled. "I feel like I'm about to break through. How could this be?" Princess Bai Xiao was speechless. After a while, she said, "Then you have been fighting for the past few days. Is it to break through?" In this way, Ling Han was not stupid. On the contrary, he was extremely smart. Ling Han shook his head. "No, this breakthrough is just incidental." Princess Bai Xiao suddenly coughed, feeling a bit of internal injury. She really couldn't communicate with such a freak. Since Ling Han had said so, it was obvious that he was unwilling to leave. That night, Ling Han continued to fight the army of skeletons. He rushed over like a tyrannical dragon, smashing everything in its path. The screen of starlight spread out, and it could be said to be unbreakable. No matter how many skeleton soldiers attacked, when faced with this kind of defense, they would only end up broken. On the contrary, Ling Han punched out with boundless power. He took out the heavenly pattern jade, compressed it with his psychokinesis, and blasted it out. Peng, peng, peng. This was too terrifying. With a single strike, an absolute space that was hundreds of feet long and 6 feet wide appeared in front of him. All the skeletons were blasted into pieces. Although the heavenly pattern jade was not big, when it was shot out at such a high speed, the wind it brought with it surpassed the speed of sound by several times. Moreover, it also carried the destructive power of a 2-star material, so the force that spilled out was extremely destructive. Ling Han rushed forward and used the 3 styles of the war god. Boom! With a single strike, the area 10 feet around him turned into a vacuum. After the 3 styles, he also rushed to the side of the heavenly pattern jade and put it away. He continuously tested the power of his various techniques, and only stopped when the sun rose. There was no more fighting. Just like before, he stamped another seal. Ling Han smiled faintly. He sat cross-legged in the ancient battlefield and began to refine the chaotic Polaris Thunder Tower. Of course, he could not change the structure of the Mother of Gold, but now that his realm had increased, he could naturally strengthen this future monarch weapon and increase its power a little. The starting point of a treasure weapon was too high. If he increased a small realm, the chaotic Polaris Thunder Tower's improvement would only be minimal. There would only be a qualitative change when it advanced to the casting cauldron. At night, Ling Han fought again. By the next morning, he had accumulated a total of 21 seals. However, on this night, when the sunlight shone on his body, Ling Han was startled. There were no new stamps stamped on his body. He had reached the limit. Ling Han nodded. In that case, he would leave. He waved at Princess Bai Xiao and 6th baby. "Let's go." Book 29568 L Genius website address. Chapter 3725. Princess Bai Xiao was stunned at first, but then she reacted. Her beautiful eyes were full of confusion. "Leaving? Do you still have to ask why you didn't want to leave?" After staying for so long, she thought that Ling Han would continue fighting until the secret realm closed. Ling Han chuckled. It seemed that the demon princess had been bored silly. "Let's go." This place is boring. What's the point of staying here? Boy, you've already stayed for 20 days, the Princess Bai Xiao was speechless. Hee hee, Dad is so fun. Sixth baby giggled. Princess Bai Xiao rolled her eyes. This baby had been led astray by Ling Han. The three of them continued on their way into the canyon. The canyon was very long and wide. The mountain walls on both sides were hundreds of miles away, but they were tens of thousands of feet high, piercing the clouds. It was a spectacular sight. Father, doesn't this canyon look like it was cut out by a sword? Sixth baby asked. Ling Han was startled. That's right, this canyon's passageway was a bit too straight, wasn't it? Moreover, looking at the mountain walls on both sides, although they had been corroded by the wind and frost of time and were mottled, it could still be seen that they should have been incredibly smooth in the past. Although the power of creation of heaven and earth was miraculous, to create such a canyon was truly unimaginable. It would be more reasonable to say that it was dug out by man. Was it Saint Guyang? With a sword slash, a towering mountain was cut in half from the middle. Ling Han couldn't help but marvel. The power of a saint was really amazing. The power of a slash had reached such a level. No wonder the legend said that a saint could easily shatter the stars in the sky. This should not be an exaggeration. After walking for a while, they saw a crowd in front of them. Why are these people still here? Previously, Ling Han had been at the entrance of the canyon, but he had seen wave after wave of people enter the canyon. The last batch to enter was a few days ago, but now they were all here. Were there any treasures? Ling Han suddenly became excited. He was a little unhappy that he hadn't obtained a single treasure after entering the masked moon's secret realm. What a stingy secret realm built by a saint. He moved closer, but was quickly disappointed. These people were gathered here not because of some treasure, but because there was a messy stone formation in front of them. It was very, very difficult to pass through. It wasn't that they couldn't pass through, and many people had already done so, but they needed to spend a lot of time to sort out the veins within. This involved an extremely complicated derivation, and as a result, the latecomers were stuck here. Formation? Ling Han's interest was piqued. Generally speaking, there were two ways to break out of a maze. The first was to deduce all the changes and naturally walk out. The second was to directly suppress the formation. The first method was suitable for weaker martial artists, while the second method was suitable for array masters and powerful martial artists. There was nothing much to say about array masters breaking arrays, and when one's strength reached a certain level, one could even shatter a celestial body with a single punch. What array could suppress them then? One had to know that a formation was to adjust the power of heaven and earth and borrow the power of heaven and earth. If it could even suppress the power of heaven and earth, what use would a formation have? However, this was an array set up by a saint. Even if it was not at the level of a saint, it was naturally impossible for a foundational stage cultivator to break it by force. Therefore, everyone could only take the first method, deduce all the changes, and then pass. This required time to observe and grasp all the changes. Brother Ling, you're an array master. Can we follow you? Someone immediately came over. Brother Ling, take me with you. Someone who was much more thick-skinned came over. Bring me along too. Me too. Although the people here were basically geniuses, and even if they didn't rely on others' help, as long as they were willing to spend time, they would be able to deduce all the changes in this messy stone array. However, if they could save some time, why not? Ling Han smiled and said, "All right, everyone give me 100 Dao stones, and I'll bring him along." Everyone couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. How greedy are you? You still want to earn a sum at this time? Brother Ling, my favor is not just 100 Dao stones. Someone immediately said, feeling that Ling Han was not on the road. Many of them were from great sects, and being able to help them was actually beneficial to Ling Han as well. Ling Han looked at him and said with a smile, "Yes, I was negligent." That person immediately became proud and felt that he had gained a lot of face. Your favor is not just 100 Dao stones. Then I'll take 1,000 from you. Ling Han said again. That person's face immediately collapsed, becoming black and smelly. This was a slap in the face. My favor is worth money, so you take more money from me. What kind of logic is this? Many people laughed out loud. Their backgrounds were also extraordinary, so there was no need to fear that person at all. That person flew into a rage out of humiliation. He pointed at Ling Han and said, "Ling Han, don't throw yourself on the ground when I give you face." Ling Han slapped over, and that person immediately fell to the ground like a dog eating shit. I hate people who threaten me the most, and I hate people who bargain for me. With this slap, even those who were laughing earlier shut their mouths, and a strong chill rose from the bottom of their hearts. The guy who was slapped over was called Zwazisher. He was of extraordinary birth, and he himself was a one-star genius of the ultimate foundation establishment stage. But it was this kind of expert who was actually slapped to the ground by Ling Han. Just how strong was Ling Han's strength? Previously, everyone was very enthusiastic and polite. That was because of Ling Han's identity as an array master, but whether it was a pill master or an array master, they could not win the true respect of martial artists. At most, they would be polite and enthusiastic. But now that Ling Han had displayed such powerful strength, it was completely different. What martial artists valued the most was strength, and Ling Han's strength was strong enough to the point where it made their hearts feel cold. Ling Han swept his gaze over the crowd. 100 Dao stones, thank you for your patronage. Brother Ling is willing to lead the way for us, how can we not be grateful? Someone immediately changed his words and gave him 100 Dao stones. Ling Han did not stand on ceremony and kept the Dao stones. Although these people all had connectors, and the vast majority of their wealth was in the form of universe coins, they would definitely still have some Dao stones on them. There would always be places where the interstellar network was not accessible, or where they would need to use Dao stones. Moreover, there were two sources of Dao stones. One was naturally formed by heaven and earth, and the other was formed by experts using their own understanding of martial art to condense the power of heaven and earth. But no matter which one it was, it could help martial artists cultivate. Therefore, usually, everyone would bring some Dao stones with them, so that they could comprehend the power of heaven and earth at any time, as well as the understanding of experts towards martial art. Ling Han did not offer a high price because he knew that these people could not bring too many Dao stones with them. 100 Dao stones per person, if there were a lot of people, it would be a big harvest. He had to quickly get his own connectors and register his own account, otherwise it would be difficult to earn money. Chapter 3726. Not everyone was willing to be exploited by Ling Han, and some people had studied it for a long time, thinking that they would be able to deduce all the changes in the array, so they naturally did not need to rely on Ling Han. A total of 72 people handed over the Dao stones. With this calculation, Ling Han had instantly earned 7,200 Dao stones. The speed at which he earned money was not any slower than robbing. From the looks of it, array master was also a pretty good profession to earn money. Ling Han laughed. Since he had accepted someone else's money, he still had his professional ethics. He entered the formation and began to understand. Even if an array master broke through a formation, they would still need to observe the formation first. If they did not understand anything, how could they break through the formation the moment they arrived? Right now, he only knew how to set up a formation, but his understanding of it was already very deep. Moreover, setting up a formation and breaking it were two different things, because destroying it was always easier than building it. Not long after, he already had a good understanding of it. He was already confident that he could break through the formation, so he said to the crowd, "Come, follow me." Everyone followed. After Ling Han walked for a while, he threw out an array foundation. Immediately, the area in front of him that was originally shrouded in smoke became clear and could be seen clearly. As expected of Brother Ling, his talent in the way of formations is astonishing. It's only been a short while, but you've already seen through this formation and broken it. We admire you. As for Ling Han, he only smiled when he heard it. The strong did not need praise, because if he had enough confidence, it would be more practical to give him a few more Dao stones. After walking for a while, Ling Han inserted a second array foundation, then walked back and put away the first array foundation. Right now, this array foundation was extremely valuable. Of course, It was impossible for it to only be used once. Just like that, they continued to move forward. Their speed was not fast, but they did not take the slightest detour. In less than half an hour, everyone had already walked out from the other side of the stone array. This was still in the canyon. This stone array was like a checkpoint that stopped many people. Everyone continued forward. Although flying was restricted here, running speed was not affected. Not long after, they reached the end of the canyon. A precipice appeared in front of them, and there was a large cave on the precipice. Some people wanted to climb up the precipice, but they couldn't fly here, because if they climbed to a high place, they would be crushed by a terrifying pressure. Even Ling Han gave up after trying once. This pressure was too terrifying. It wasn't something that could be withstood just by gritting one's teeth. Let's enter the cave then. This should be our next stop. The cave was big enough, so they didn't have to walk in a single file. They could walk side by side. The cave was not pitch black, because some of the rocks were actually glowing. Although it was not very strong, it was enough for people to see. They were heading underground, and after advancing for some distance, the cave became narrower and narrower, and the team became thinner and thinner. Half a day later, the line that was originally running side by side had become a long line. Ling Han didn't force himself to walk at the front. Whoever wanted to take the lead could walk in front. He held sixth baby in his left hand, and Princess Bai Xiao followed behind him. They were both in the middle. After walking for so long, they should be deep underground, but there was no obvious change in the temperature. It was just that the humidity was high, and the walls of the cave were wet. "We're finally out," someone exclaimed, full of joy. "Hey, there's actually a moon in the sky." "That's impossible. We're underground, how can there be a moon?" The people in front said one after another, full of surprise. Ling Han also walked out. Sure enough, there was a golden full moon hanging in the sky. It was dotted with stars, just like a normal night sky. However, this was impossible. Ling Han used his eye sorcery and looked at the sky. Suddenly, he saw something different. This moon was only tens of thousands of feet away from him, and it was just a huge round stone. There were golden lines on it, as if it was inlaid with metal, which was why it emitted a golden brilliance. If one were to insist that this was a moon, it would be artificially created. The sage's methods were indeed extraordinary. Not only could he shatter the stars at will, but he could also create a moon. "Hey, why is the way back gone?" someone said in surprise. Ling Han looked back, and sure enough, the cave that they had come out of had strangely disappeared. Camouflage. He felt around the mountain wall, but he couldn't find the cave. There was no bombardment either. This was a solid mountain, and there was no cave. Everyone was amazed. Obviously, they couldn't go back the way they came, so they could only continue forward. "Since we're here, let's take it easy. There are so many people, who should we be afraid of?" Everyone looked full of confidence and walked forward one after another. This was a plain, but there was no grass. Instead, there was dark red moss, which emitted a strange aura under the golden moonlight. "Did you guys notice that something is wrong here?" someone said. "Yes, it's too quiet here. There doesn't seem to be any life except for the moss." "Yes." As soon as they finished speaking, they saw the first living thing that could move. It was a cockroach. "I hate cockroaches the most." A female warrior raised her foot and stomped the cockroach to death. Needless to say, there were quite a lot of cockroaches here, but they basically didn't make any sound, so the whole plain was extremely quiet. "Why does this feel like a ghost place?" "Yes, I think so too." Although there were plants and moving creatures here, it always gave people a feeling of panic. They walked and walked, and the bright moon gradually set. However, the sun didn't rise, and they could only see the hazy light in the sky. This was underground, and it was good enough to have such light. Did they really expect to see the sun? That was too unrealistic. Everyone just walked in one direction, and after going over a few mountains, a meadow with water appeared in front of them. They walked up and immediately realized that it was actually a swamp. Fortunately, with their strength, they only needed to use their secret power to make themselves as light as a feather, and they didn't have to worry about sinking. "Oh, it stinks." Sixth baby immediately covered his nose. Although Princess Bai Xiao didn't say anything, her expression wasn't any better. It was indeed stinky. This swamp was simply a stinky pond, and the stench went straight into their noses, making them want to vomit. But would they turn back just because it was stinky? Impossible, and there was no way back. The way they came did not exist at all. Everyone could only brace themselves and walk forward. After walking for about 10 minutes, the water surface broke with a splash, and mud flew everywhere. A stench that was hundreds of times more stinky came, and immediately many people's faces turned green. At this moment, a huge creature also jumped out of the water and bit towards a warrior. Chapter 37:28. Ling Han also walked over and observed the corpse. It looked like a human, but it was definitely not a human. It was not because it was too big, but because its head, hands, and feet were very different from a human. Werewolf or leopard man, someone said. The mouth was protruding, and the nails on its hands and feet were long and sharp. It looked like a beast man that had not fully transformed. Yes. The others nodded in agreement. There used to be many werewolves or leopard men living here. It could also be that the beast men had killed the residents here. This was the corpse of an invader. Worthless. Someone shook his head. The others also shook their heads. Indeed, what could a corpse like this prove? What clues could it give? The key is, where did those people go? Someone said. I looked around. This is a dead valley. There is no other way out. And we didn't find any forks along the way. That's strange. Everyone was puzzled, and a strong sense of puzzlement arose in their hearts. Hee hee, are you looking for me? A voice sounded, causing everyone to turn around. A man was walking over with a smile on his face. You are Su Guanglin. Didn't you pass through the stone array a long time ago? Yes, you are not from our group. Many people recognized this man and immediately called out his identity. Su Guanglin, where did you come from? Where are the others? Everyone was talking at once. Su Guanglin smiled. Follow me. I will bring you to a place. Your mysteries will naturally be answered. Everyone looked at each other, wondering if this was a trap. But they had not obtained the saint's inheritance, so what was the point of Su Guanglin harming them? Moreover, they were not weak, so there was no need to be afraid. Also, they had already reached a dead end, so there was no point in staying here. Let's go. Everyone followed Su Guanglin, only to see that this guy brought them into a stone house, moved the stone bed inside, and actually revealed a secret passage. Oh, no wonder this guy suddenly popped out. It was because there was a secret passage that he could use. Su Guanglin took the lead, and the others followed. The tunnel was very long, and after walking for half an hour, they finally walked out of the secret tunnel. Suddenly, the front suddenly opened up, and a small valley appeared. There was a gurgling stream, and there were colorful stones shining. Welcome to the Wolf Tribe's Holy Land. Su Guanglin turned around and said to everyone, Holy Land of Werewolves, was it the Werewolf Valley before that? Then those who died were werewolves too. Come, follow me. You will soon solve all the mysteries. Su Guanglin smiled and continued to lead the way. Not long after, he saw a large group of people, some sitting, some standing, some pacing back and forth. These were all people who had passed through the stone formation and entered this place even earlier. Everyone greeted each other. Many of the people here knew each other, and some of them had even formed alliances before. However, after entering this place, they had been separated and could not walk together. Ling Han looked around but did not see Zhuang Bufan. Hey, where is this guy? What's going on? Someone couldn't help but ask. Don't worry, someone will answer you. Who? This old man. An aged voice rang out, attracting the attention of everyone who had just arrived. It was a tall man covered in a cloak. He was at least 10 feet tall, several heads taller than the majority of the people here. Just by standing there, he would overshadow everyone. He held a black walking stick in his left hand that seemed incomparably heavy. When it landed on the ground, it let out a muffled thud that shook the entire valley. Ling Han swept a glance over, and saw that the man's left hand, which was holding onto the cane, was furry. His fingertips were unusually long, like small knives. This old man is the Wolf Tribe's high priest. The tall man stopped and used his right hand to remove the cloak covering his head, revealing a furry face. It was the head of a wolf, and its yellow-green eyes emitted a strange light. Ling Han activated his eye technique, but to his surprise, he couldn't see through this werewolf's cultivation. This was discovered by the wolf tribe's high priest. He also looked at Ling Han, but he didn't linger. He just glanced at him and left. You must be very curious. All right, this old man will explain to you. The ruthless tribe's high priest began to explain. My wolf clan has lived here for generations, but many years ago, a plague swept through, killing almost all of my wolf clan's people. In order to preserve the fire of hope, my old ancestors sealed the surviving children. Only when we found a way to cure the plague did we unseal them. According to the will of God that we received, the hope of the wolf tribe rests on you foreign warriors. Enter the sky suspension cave and retrieve the divine medicine. Of course, there are also things you need there. Ling Han and the others heard this. TSK, isn't this the standard setting of a historical site? What will of God? Saint Gu Yang must have brainwashed these werewolves when he created or brought them here, so that they would be the guides of this place. This was the plot, written by Saint Gu Yang. They naturally wouldn't say it out loud, because the wolf tribe's high priest might not believe them. Instead, it would destroy the wolf tribe's hope and make him angry. Therefore, everyone just acted according to the script. There are things you need. That must be referring to the saint's inheritance. Everyone was eager to try and set off immediately, but the wolf tribe's high priest told them not to rush. According to the usual practice, they needed to wait for a while for more people to arrive and act together. Well, those who came in first really didn't have any advantage. There was no other way. They couldn't put a knife to the wolf tribe's high priest's neck and force him to tell them the location of the sky suspension cave. Therefore, Ling Han and the others just sat, stood, or paced around like those who came in first. They were extremely bored. Ling Han, on the other hand, was not so worried. He sat cross-legged and continued to deduce the formation patterns. He was still a long way from mastering all the formation patterns. Day after day, time passed quickly. More people came in one after another. All of them were the wolf tribe's high priest, who suddenly appeared and said that a new batch of warriors had entered the werewolf valley and needed them to receive them. Then, he repeated what Ling Han and the others had experienced before. Just like that, another half a month passed, and the wolf tribe's high priest finally came out again. It's almost time, he said. His yellow-green eyes seemed to be glowing, and he seemed extremely excited. Whether the wolf tribe can rise again depends on you. Rest assured, High Priest, we will definitely do our best, someone immediately said. Someone immediately said. Flattering a storyline character didn't cost anything, and they might even be able to get extra points and other benefits in the future. Come with me. Chapter 3729. Everyone followed the Wolf Clan's high priest to the end of the small valley. Then, the Wolf Clan's high priest muttered to the mountain wall. No one knew what he was saying. Then, he used his walking stick to touch the mountain wall. Silently, a hole appeared in the mountain wall. This was the Heaven Suspension Cave. There's a restriction against werewolves here, I can't go in. The high priest of the wolf tribe sighed. Go ahead. I hope you can succeed and save the future of my wolf tribe. Everyone nodded. This was more in line with the setting. Otherwise, if he could go in himself, why would he need them? Don't worry, High Priest. Everyone was fighting to be the first. This was the final test. The fact that they were able to make it here meant that they had obtained the recognition of the sage. In that case, they naturally had a high chance of obtaining the inheritance of the sage. As expected, they were the strongest heaven's favorites. Ling Han was a little surprised. This was too easy, wasn't it? If there were any challenges here, it would be the ancient battlefield, the messy stone array, and the swamp. However, they could still pass it as a team. The difficulty was pitifully low. That way, he would be recognized all the way to the final segment. What a joke! Not to mention the inheritance of a saint, even if a cauldron was dead, it would not casually find a successor for itself, right? Moreover, if it was really so easy, then why hadn't this saint's inheritance been taken away for so long? Ling Han always felt that something was wrong. He held sixth baby in his arms and turned to Princess Bai Xiao. Be careful, there might be drastic changes. Princess Bai Xiao was puzzled. Then she came to a realization. Could it be that Ling Han was afraid that the appearance of the saint's inheritance would cause a great battle? All right. She nodded. Ling Han knew that she didn't understand what he meant, but it didn't matter as long as she was vigilant. They walked, and in 10 minutes at most, a huge karst cave suddenly appeared in front of them. It was more than 300 feet tall, the widest part was about 3,000 feet, and the narrowest part was also 2,000 feet. There was a stone pillar in the middle of the cave. It was 30 feet tall and stood out from the rest. This was the end of the cave. Where's the saint's inheritance? Someone cried out, full of unwillingness. It's gone. It was no wonder that no one had gained anything in the past tens of thousands of years. It turned out to be a scam. Everyone had been bullied by Sage Gu Yang. There was no such thing as a sage's legacy. They had been tricked and fooled. This made many people fly into a rage. Let's go back and interrogate that high priest. Maybe he's lying to us. Yes, let's go back and find that old man. Some people wanted to go back, but there were always curious people who walked to the stone pillar in the middle and touched it. The stone pillar actually shone, and then a book appeared out of thin air. Sage's inheritance. That person's voice trembled. He was incomparably emotional. He could clearly see the 4 words on the book, Ancient Yang Sky Scripture. Isn't this the sage's inheritance? So the inheritance of the sage was real. In an instant, everyone's gazes were fixed on him, and many people's eyes were blazing with ferocity. Hand it over. Someone immediately shouted. Not to mention them, even supremacies would have to fight to the death for the sage's inheritance. How could that person be willing to listen? He hurriedly stored the book into his spatial magic tool. He would never hand over such an inheritance even if he was beaten to death. You're really courting death. Xiao, someone immediately charged at that person. Xiao. More and more people could not help but attack. Even those who had wanted to leave earlier returned and joined the battle. A chaotic battle broke out, and it was incredibly intense. For the sake of the sage's inheritance, none of them would show any mercy. They all attacked with all their might, wanting to defeat everyone and obtain the great opportunity for themselves. However, there were still people who did not join the battle. Instead, they walked towards the stone pillar and pressed their hands on it. Another book appeared out of thin air. Ancient Yang Sky Scripture. That person was overjoyed and hurriedly kept the book. However, although his action was concealed, it was still seen by others. Those people did not fight over it. Instead, they all stepped forward and reached out to touch the stone pillar. As a result, books appeared one after another. They were all Ancient Yang Sky Scripture. There were too many books appearing, and even those who were fighting fiercely saw them. Involuntarily, some people withdrew from the battle, and then more and more people did so. The chaotic battle ended, but there were also 17 corpses left behind. How could there not be deaths in such a fierce battle? Everyone was speechless and went forward to touch it, but not everyone could obtain the Ancient Yang Sky Scripture. Some people reached out and there was no reaction. We seem to have been fooled again. Everyone compared the Ancient Yang Sky Scripture, and the results were different for each book. Perhaps one book was real, and perhaps all of them were fake. Dad, let's go and try too. Sixth baby waved his white little hand. Okay, Ling Han said with a smile. He carried sixth baby forward. Sixth baby reached out and pressed his hands on the pillar. There was a flash of light, and a book appeared out of thin air. Ancient Yang Sky Scripture? He did not know how many books it was. Ling Han smiled and also reached out to press his hands on it. He was surprised to find that the chapter in his hand suddenly lit up, and then a sense of vicissitudes instantly surged into his sea of knowledge. World Skipper, you're finally here. I have been waiting for you for a long time. Since you can hear this, it means that you have passed the first stage of my test, and you can obtain the Ancient Yang Sky Scripture for the Foundation Establishment Realm. There are still 3 secret realm tests waiting for you, corresponding to the cauldron forging, core formation, and true self realm. Only if you pass all the tests can you obtain my complete inheritance. Suddenly, a large amount of information surged towards Ling Han. It was a cultivation method, but it only had the cultivation method for the Foundation Establishment realm. Then, there were 3 coordinates and the method to open the 3 secret realms. Ling Han slightly examined it, and he immediately confirmed that this should be the real ancient Yang sky scripture. It was broad and profound, and even though he had not cultivated it yet, Ling Han was sure that it was at least 10 or 20 times better than the Great Sun Lotus technique that he was currently cultivating. This Saint Guyang really knew how to play around. He actually gave everyone a bunch of fake cultivation methods, and he even divided them into 1, 2, 3, 4, and there were still 3 secret realms to pass to obtain the complete ancient Yang sky scripture. However, in this way, no one would know that the real inheritance of the saint had actually fallen into his hands, but was actually in his mind. The previous bloody battles had not been in vain. His persistence and hard work had paid off. This also showed how the saint selected his successor. Not only did he need to be strong, but he also needed to have enough perseverance. Perseverance was indeed a rare and valuable quality on the path of cultivating martial art. Many times, it required the determination not to turn back even if he hit a wall. Reading on the mobile phone is more refreshing. Chapter 3730. Without batting an eyelid, Ling Han retreated. Princess Bai Xiao also reached out and pressed down. Pa! Another heaven ancient Yang scripture appeared. Almost everyone had a copy, and none of them missed. The rest of the people also stepped forward to try. Since they had already come this far, how could they not give it a try? Some people got nothing, while others got street copies of the heaven ancient Yang scripture. More than an hour passed, and everyone gave it a try. In total, there were 739 copies of the heaven's ancient scripture. As for whether there were any authentic copies among them, Ling Han knew that there definitely weren't any, but the others weren't so sure. They all swept their gazes over the others, wondering whether they should make a move to snatch them. Although the sage's inheritance had been obtained, Ling Han still had doubts in his heart. Wasn't it too smooth? His real contribution was to fight in the ancient battlefield for 21 days, which might be something that geniuses in the past could not endure, but the problem was that the following part was too easy. According to Sage Gu Yang's character, the complete heaven ancient Yang scripture would be taught 4 times, but the foundation of the heaven ancient Yang scripture was obtained so easily. Why did he feel that something was wrong? The day has finally come. An old voice sounded, and the Wolf Clan's high priest strode over with a walking stick. The sage's inheritance has finally appeared. Hey old man, what are you talking about? Didn't you ask for some divine medicine and ask for the future descendants of the Wolf Clan? Didn't you say that the Wolf Clan was not allowed to enter this place? Why did your character suddenly collapse? Moreover, how did you know about the sage's inheritance? As a chess piece, shouldn't you know nothing and only follow the script? The Wolf Clan's high priest laughed and said disdainfully, "You think that you are the high and mighty players. Wrong. If I hadn't skipped countless steps for you, you would have had to go through many difficulties and come here at least a few months later. And there is only one person who can come here. However, the possibility of obtaining the inheritance is too low for one person, so I saved you some time and let everyone enter here, which can also increase the chance of success." God bless us, we finally succeeded. Everyone was puzzled after hearing this. This is the sudden awakening of the characters, and they decide not to follow the script. There's no rush. We have plenty of time. I will also explain everything clearly to you all from start to finish. After holding it in for so many years, if I don't say it out loud, it would truly be too unbearable for me. Wolf Clan's great priest said. Tell me a story first. The high priest did not care whether the crowd was willing to listen or not. He had already started talking. A long time ago, this secret realm opened and a large number of warriors entered and came to the Wolfman Valley. Back then, the Werewolf Valley wasn't like this. There were many werewolves living there. Outsiders must win the werewolves' trust in order to have an audience with the high priest. The high priest will arrange many missions and tests that are extremely difficult to complete. Only the first person to do it will be qualified to enter the Heaven's Suspension Cave. The others have no chance. This is just a microcosm of the countless secret realms that have opened over the generations. However, something different happened that time. Because a female adventurer actually fell in love with a werewolf from the Werewolf Valley. She stayed and spent the rest of her life in this filthy, cramped place. She had no regrets, but after she told her son everything, her son was very unwilling to accept it. Why should I be trapped in this place? Why should I be a pawn? The high priest roared. So, after learning everything, I began to plan. All of this should be mine, but I have half werewolf blood and will never be able to leave this damned place. Unless the saint's inheritance is taken and this secret realm collapses. Unfortunately, I do not meet the requirements of the saint and cannot obtain the inheritance. So, I simplified everything. As long as someone comes to the Wolfman Valley, I will let them in. Once there are many people, one of them will be able to obtain the saint's inheritance. And I will fight for that opportunity. The high priest said proudly, full of confidence. Everyone sneered and looked at the high priest with pitiful eyes. You've been tricked, whoever obtained the saint's inheritance is fake. A bunch of idiots. The high priest snorted. I've lived here for so many years, do you think I don't know if the secret realm collapses or not? In just one day, this place will disappear forever. So, the saint's inheritance must be obtained by someone. The moment he said this, everyone was tempted. The saint's inheritance had appeared. In whose hands? Ling Han gritted his teeth in his heart. He had thought that no one would know that he had obtained the saint's inheritance, but he never expected this high priest to not follow the script. Who are you trying to fool? Someone immediately said. This secret realm only opens once every 10,000 years, and even true self-realm experts only have 10,000 years of lifespan. And from your tone, you've clearly experienced the opening of the secret realm many times. Not to mention a 4 extreme realm venerable, or even a nirvana realm saint. Everyone shook their heads. In this secret realm, forget becoming a venerable, even forging a cauldron was impossible. Good question. The high priest put away his walking stick and took off his cloak. Although millions of years have passed in reality, to me, it's only been a few hundred years. Because I only awaken every time the secret realm opens. Other times, I use the power of heaven and earth to suppress my body and remain in a sealed state. My life has almost stopped flowing. So, I'm at my peak. He threw away his cloak, revealing a burly middle-aged man. He was full of heroic spirit and surged with vitality. As expected, he wasn't old at all. Clap, clap, clap. A young man clapped his hands and walked out with large strides, smiling. You're really good at scheming, but you've overlooked one thing. The power of heaven and earth here is extremely barren. How high can you cultivate? Even if we take 10,000 steps back, so what if you can cultivate to forging a cauldron or even forming a core? This place suppresses your cultivation level, and you can only unleash the power of a foundation establishment. The young man reached out and grabbed at the high priest of the wolf race. The high priest of the wolf race just casually slapped, and the young man fell to the ground. Fresh blood flowed from his head, and he was actually slapped to death. TSK, that young man was a prodigy at the foundation establishment realm. Although he was only at the 1-star level, he was slapped to death with a single slap. How big was the difference in strength? Idiot! The high priest of the wolf race said coldly. Buzz, a small bronze cauldron appeared above his head. Cast tripod realm, someone exclaimed. TSK, his aura didn't weaken at all. This is the true cast tripod realm. How is this possible? Chapter 37-32. Everyone was already in despair, but when they saw this white light, their hearts that had fallen to the bottom of the valley were immediately lifted up again. Could they succeed? The wolf race's high priest sneered. How could a mere hidden weapon hurt him? Too naive. He casually raised his hand and tried to catch the white light. He could see clearly that it was a white jade-like stone. However, Just as his hand touched the stone, his expression changed drastically. So heavy, too heavy. How could this be possible? It was obviously the size of a fist. How could it be so heavy? Also, how could such a heavy thing be thrown out at such a high speed? Not to mention the Foundation establishment realm, even he, a cast tripod realm expert, couldn't do it. He was careless, and this was bad. However, it was too late for regrets now. With a paw, his right hand instantly exploded, turning into a rain of blood. Then, the jade stone did not stop in the slightest, and continued to strike forward. Pa pa pa. The bones in his forearm exploded one after another, and a rain of blood swirled about. That wasn't the end. His upper arm was also smashed by the stone. The stone itself weighed 5,000 kilograms, and when it was smashed at more than 30 times the speed of sound, it was ridiculously heavy. So what if he was at the cast tripod realm? His mystic force couldn't withstand it at all. The wolf race's high priest's entire right arm turned into a rain of blood, and even half of his upper body was gone. There was a huge hole that was oozing blood, and the scene was exceptionally horrifying. The power of a single strike from the heavenly pattern jade was so powerful. However, this also showed the power of the cast tripod realm. Due to carelessness, he used his body to take on the heavenly pattern jade, but he only lost his right arm and a small part of his body. If he was at the Foundation establishment realm, he would probably have turned into a rain of blood. The heavenly pattern jade, which traveled at more than 30 times the speed of sound, had a destructive power. Everyone was overjoyed. Although they didn't kill the wolf race's high priest, he must have been seriously injured after losing a small part of his body. The wolf race's high priest let out a mournful howl. There was anger, unwillingness, and deep regret. He was too careless and thought that these people were under his control. In addition, he was about to obtain the sage's inheritance. After millions of years of waiting, he finally had a harvest. It was inevitable that he was excited and lost the caution he should have. Also, although his mother was an outsider, he had never been out. How would he know about a telekinesis artifact like the heavenly rune jade? Or rather, he might have known, but it had never left an impression in his heart. In short, all of this was the bitter fruit that he had no choice but to swallow now. It's you. He stared at Ling Han. It was this brat who had thrown out that piece of jade, causing him to be injured. He was missing an arm, a small part of his body. This would leave him with an eternal disability. Unless he could obtain a saint-tier immortal medicine, he would not be able to regrow his severed limb, or cultivate to an incomparably high level where he could even be reborn from a single drop of blood. However, these two things were too far away for him right now. Kill this fucking kid. 1-3. The people who had joined forces with Ling Han stepped forward. The high priest of the wolf clan was now at his weakest. If the 12 of them joined forces, they would most likely be able to take him down. A bunch of ants. The high priest of the wolf clan said coldly. Enduring the intense pain, he took out the immortal cauldron, which floated above his head. Immediately, a higher level of suppression overflowed, restricting everyone's immortal Tao foundation, making it difficult for them to exert their full strength. He hated himself. If he had been vigilant and used the immortal cauldron to suppress it, how could such an accident have happened? Kill! Ling Han was the first to pounce. His body was like a dragon, and his fists danced as he punched towards the high priest of the wolf clan. Normally, he would not be a match for a cast tripod realm expert. However, this cast tripod realm expert had just formed one tripod, and he had grown up in a mystic realm that was isolated from the rest of the world. His battle strength was definitely lower than an ordinary cast tripod realm expert. Most importantly, the high priest of the wolf clan was severely injured, and his battle strength had dropped drastically. This made Ling Han believe that he could put up a fight. Die! The high priest of the wolf clan waved his claw at Ling Han. 5 rays of force swept across like sword rays. Pff, blood immediately bloomed on Ling Han's fist. At the same time, a vigorous force pushed him back. Ling Han couldn't help but sigh. He had already activated the starlight screen and used the demon monkey fist, but he was still not a match for the severely injured high priest of the wolf clan. In fact, The starlight screen was sliced open by the high priest of the wolf clan in a single strike. It was enough to prove the difference between a foundation-building realm and a cast tripod realm. The high priest of the wolf clan took the opportunity to pursue and attack. He hated Ling Han to the core. Boom, boom, boom. The other 11 people also launched their attacks. They naturally wouldn't watch as Ling Han was killed. Otherwise, they could already foresee the outcome of Ling Han. Right now, they had to stand together through thick and thin. Fight, fight, fight. 12 foundation-building realm experts with outstanding talents joined forces to fight against a cast tripod realm expert. Even so, the high priest of the wolf clan still had the upper hand. Under the suppression of the celestial cauldron, other than Ling Han, no one else could display more than half of their battle power. Even though the high priest of the wolf clan was severely injured, they could only barely defend. However, this made everyone jump for joy. Because the high priest of the wolf clan was severely injured and kept bleeding. If he didn't receive treatment, so what if he was a cast tripod realm expert? He would definitely die. Therefore, as long as Ling Han and the others could persevere, the one who would die in the end would definitely be the high priest of the wolf clan. Moreover, the high priest of the wolf clan also said that in one day, the mystic realm would collapse and they would be able to leave. As long as they could leave, a mere cast tripod realm was nothing. Therefore, they had to persevere. The high priest of the wolf clan obviously knew this as well. His attacks became more and more frenzied as he wanted to kill the 12 people in front of him. As long as he could do this, he would still be the master of this place and the sage's inheritance would eventually fall into his hands. Werewolf transformation. He let out a loud roar as large amounts of long black fur grew out of his body. It also expanded rapidly as if he had grown a size bigger. He had completely transformed into a wolf. The high priest of the wolf clan roared angrily and waved his claws again as his attack power skyrocketed. He wasn't a pure wolf clan, so he couldn't maintain his werewolf transformation state for long. However, during this transformation, his battle strength was astonishingly enhanced. Ling Han snorted and used the 3 styles of the war god to fight the high priest of the wolf clan head-on. Boom boom boom. He used 3 styles in a row and each of them exploded with destructive power that far exceeded his current battle strength. Although he still couldn't defeat the high priest of the wolf clan, he forcefully withstood the high priest's initial explosive attack, causing the high priest of the wolf clan to lose his battle intent. The other 11 people also used their ultimate moves to reduce the pressure on Ling Han. In this way, they finally withstood the high priest of the wolf clan's explosive attack. No! The high priest of the wolf clan roared angrily, his voice filled with unwillingness. He had painstakingly planned for tens of thousands of years. This time, the sage's inheritance was about to appear, but he was actually going to die. He couldn't accept this. He couldn't accept this. Everyone truly heaved a sigh of relief, and only felt a layer of cold sweat on their backs. After all, it was a cast cauldron who wanted to kill them, and the timing and location were all advantageous to the wolf tribe's high priest. If it weren't for Ling Han's beautiful first shot, they probably would all have died here today. Brother Ling, many thanks. Ling Han, I owe you a life. Many people were magnanimous, and they all nodded to Ling Han in acknowledgement, but there were also some who pretended to be confused and did not react at all. Princess Bai Xiao was very pleased. The more others praised Ling Han, the happier she was, and it was even more comfortable than praising herself. This must be sister-in-law, someone greeted Princess Bai Xiao with a smile. Oh, Brother Ling, your daughter is already so big. He turned back to smile at Ling Han. Ah, I've been misunderstood. Princess Bai Xiao felt her pretty face suddenly become hot, but for some reason she did not want to argue and instead acquiesced. Ling Han still wanted to clarify. After all, Princess Bai Xiao was still a virgin, and how could her reputation be ruined? Boom. However, before he could open his mouth, the entire cave trembled. Then the violent trembling could not be stopped no matter what. The hidden realm is about to collapse. Could it be that the old werewolf did not lie, and someone really obtained the sage's inheritance, so the hidden realm is about to collapse? Not necessarily. That old werewolf may just think that he has everything under control, or maybe it was Sage Guyang who made him think so. Think about it, almost everyone has a copy of the Heaven Ancient Yang scripture. How much trouble can this sage cause? That's true. While everyone was talking, boom, a mighty force spread out, and no one could match it at all. Xiao, they only felt their vision blur, as if they had entered a strange and dazzling passage, and there were bright and magnificent lights flashing in front of them. Before they could see clearly, they fell out of the passage. Hey, they had already left the Hidden Moon realm, and arrived at the place where they first entered. Xiao. Immediately, many people flew over. Did you obtain the sage's inheritance? Someone asked, standing in the sky. Seventh senior brother, we have all been fooled. A young man who came out of the hidden realm took out the Heaven Ancient Yang scripture and handed it over. The person in the sky landed, picked up the Heaven Ancient Yang scripture, and flipped through it. He did not know whether to laugh or cry. This is a widely circulated cultivation method called the Puyang technique, and its grade is extremely low. I also have one here. Another person who came out of the hidden realm took out the Heaven Ancient Yang scripture. This is the Brushing the Forest's 18 forms, a very low-grade celestial technique. Everyone took out their own Heaven Ancient Yang scripture and handed it to their sect or family elders, but the result was the same. It was an extremely ordinary celestial technique. Ling Han naturally made a fortune in silence. If he said that the real Heaven Ancient Yang scripture was in his mind, he would probably be captured by the powerful figures in the next moment and taken back to the imperial capital for soul-searching. He quietly retreated, bringing Princess Bai Xiao and sixth baby back to the imperial capital. This was Xianbei Nation, Qinfengyan's territory, and he believed that these people would not dare to use force. After all, among those who had crossed stars to come here, the strongest was only at the Golden Core realm. Ling Han safely returned to the imperial capital, and he immediately began to cultivate the Heaven Ancient Yang scripture. Instantly, he felt as if he had been reborn. As expected of a sage's cultivation method, it was too powerful. Chapter 37-34. Compared to before, Ling Han's cultivation speed had increased by at least 50 times. Originally, if he didn't rely on external help to advance a small tier, he would need about 10 years. Now, it would only take 2 or 3 months. A saint's cultivation technique was so awesome. In fact, Ling Han could cultivate to the peak stage of the foundation building tier in a few short months with the help of silver arowana fish and green wood replenishing spirit pill. From this, it could be seen how weak the Great Sun Lotus technique was. It was actually so much weaker than medicinal pills and natural treasures. Now, when compared again, it was enough to show how powerful a saint's cultivation technique was. Good news came one after another. Lin Luo, Zhou Heng, and the others all leaped over the celestial gate and advanced into the foundation building tier. Ling Han asked them. They all leaped over the bronze, silver, and gold celestial gates, but didn't see the ancient celestial gate. As expected, without the plain power in their bodies, it was impossible to go to the fourth celestial gate. Even so, Lin Luo and the others' battle prowess was extremely shocking. They were at least 4-star warriors. Ling Han thought for a moment, and then passed the ancient Yang scripture to Lin Luo and the others. These were truly his people, and Ling Han hoped that they would become strong. In the future, each and every one of them could be of help to him. Lin Luo and the others didn't stand on ceremony. In any case, they had already received too much kindness from Ling Han, so it didn't matter if they did it again. They were a real family, so why would they need to stand on ceremony? Ling Han smiled. The ancient Yang scripture really came at the right time. Lin Luo and the others were all geniuses among geniuses. With a saint's cultivation technique, their future would be limitless. The Empress, Hu Niu, and the large black dog had also reached the mystery-seeking tier. As long as they opened all the apertures in their body, they could also break through to the foundation-building tier. Everything was so perfect. The little girl also returned. She bought over 100 connectors in one go. In her words, she had already made a trip, so if she only bought a few, it would be too unfair to her. It was good to have more. Ling Han took one for himself, and then gave one to Lin Luo and the others. The Empress and Hu Niu naturally had one as well, but they hadn't advanced into the celestial tier yet, so they couldn't use it yet. That would require the support of incredibly powerful mental energy, so they had to be at least in the foundation building tier. He was in high spirits as he put on the connector. It was extremely small, only the size of a grain of rice. It could be hidden in his hair or even in his eyes. It was extremely convenient. After putting it on, a cold voice suddenly sounded. This connector is currently not connected to any living beings. The soul of the wearer has been detected, and no account has been set up. Would you like to create a new account? Yes, Ling Han replied telepathically. Connecting to the Star Web platform, creating an account. The voice said. After a while, it sounded again. The account has been created. You can set a name for yourself. Ling Han thought about it and said, "Number 1 under the starry sky." The voice didn't respond immediately. After a while, it asked in a doubtful tone, "Do you really want to use this name?" "Of course." Ling Han smiled. Anyway, it was just a code name. As long as he didn't say that the number 1 under the starry sky on the internet was Ling Han, it was fine. "I hope you're worthy of this title." The voice actually said something quite human. Ling Han was surprised. "Huh, you actually have emotions?" The voice had recovered its indifference. "I'm the soul of the Star Web, created by the 4 great emperors." Ling Han cut off the connection and said, "Send me to the arena." This time he had money. After deducting $1 universe, he entered the arena. He came to a room. There was no wall on the other side of the room. He could clearly see the outside, but it was an empty arena. "Newbie, familiarize yourself with the various rules first." The voice of the Star Web soul sounded. A pile of books fell from the sky and onto the table. This Star Web soul definitely has its own will. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so arrogant. "Aren't I a consciousness body now? Can't you directly transfer the rules to me?" Ling Han complained before picking up the book and flipping through it. Immediately, the information turned into a stream of consciousness and entered his sea of consciousness. Chapter 37-36. Ling Han opened the thread and saw that it was indeed referring to him. Apart from winning all 11 matches, his name had also been hyped up. After all, being the number 1 under the starry skies was too much of a mockery. What kind of person is he? He only won 11 matches in a row and he dares to call himself the number 1 under the starry skies? He came up with such a name before the battle even started. When it comes to posturing, I'm convinced. Winning 11 matches in a row doesn't mean anything. After all, this isn't the ranking tournament. There's no meaning if he only wins against nobodies. Alright, let me make a list. Everyone, let's see who the number 1 under the starry skies has defeated and who will he win against next. Everyone replied one after another, and it was very lively. Ling Han also joined in and said, "If you're not convinced, come and fight. I'll open the arena." Since he had already made a name for himself, it was time to reap the harvest. Ling Han reopened the arena, and after losing 1 universe coin he still set up a bet, but he cancelled the setting of paying to enter the arena. On the spectator settings, he chose to let it be free. This was, of course, temporary. When he made a name for himself, those who wanted to watch him fight would have to pay. Who's not convinced, come and fight. He opened a new thread on the forum and started the path of mockery. In just a short while, someone chose to fight with him. After receiving the notification from the Star Web platform, Ling Han accepted the challenge. Instantly, his figure turned into shattered light, and when he condensed again, he was already in the arena. His opponent was a young man full of heroic spirit. The other party didn't hide his battle results, and it was obvious at a glance. Tseng Huan, Star Web rank, 975,884,250, battle count, 1006, wins, 305, losses, 701, draws, 0. Looking at the surrounding spectator stands, there were over 20 people who entered, which could be said to be a pitiful number. Although Ling Han was a little popular on the forum, not many people were willing to waste time to watch a newbie's battle. Number 1 under the starry skies, my brain is muddled. Bam! That opponent was just about to mock Ling Han, but Ling Han had already rushed in front of that person in an instant. With a punch, that person was sent flying. While his body was still in midair, it turned into light and shadow fragments and dissipated. Solved. Clean, efficient, and relaxed. Damn, when the 20 or so spectators saw this, they all revealed expressions of extreme shock. What the hell? That was too fast. One punch and it was over. Quick, look at the replay. Fuck, we haven't even paid for the recording. If you were fighting or watching a battle in the arena, you could pay a fee to have the platform record the battle. Especially if you watched the battle after the battle, you could sum up your own shortcomings and correct them. I can only wait for the next match. Ling Han continued to wait for the challenge. This time, he had earned 10 universe credits. Very good, he finally had a good start. In just a short while, another person came in to challenge him. And because of the previous battle, the spectators called their friends, and more than 10 people came in. They immediately paid for the arena to record the battle. This time, Ling Han's opponent was a middle-aged man. Without saying a word, he immediately rushed towards Ling Han. Ling Han did not hold back and just punched. Bang, the battle was over. In the spectator seats, although everyone was already mentally prepared, they still could not hide their shock. This guy's strength can definitely be ranked in the top 100 million. Therefore, those who are ranked after 100 million should not come and ask for a snub. Everyone was making their own judgments. Someone immediately posted a video of the battle that had just been recorded. This quickly attracted the attention of many people, and they all replied below, expressing their admiration for Ling Han's strength. I boldly predict that this will be a new star, destined to shine in the universe in the future. Hee, do you really think that he is the number one under the starry skies? Right now, his opponents are all ranked beyond 800 million. Naturally, they will not be able to withstand a punch from him. Wait until he makes it to the top 100 million. Not bad, the top 100 million is the first dividing line. Those who can stand out among the 10 are qualified to be called geniuses. Most of the people who replied below thought that Ling Han was far from being a top genius, let alone the number one under the starry skies. However, more and more people challenged Ling Han, but all of them were killed with a single punch, causing Ling Han's reputation to grow. Someone posted on the forum, seeking the top 100 million foundation establishment experts to come out and teach a madman a lesson. In the post, the opponents that Ling Han had defeated were listed in detail, and some were even accompanied by battle videos. Who dares to use the title of number one under the starry skies? I'll teach him a lesson and make him change his name immediately, someone replied. Hey, is that God Guan? An expert ranked in the 90 million. It's settled now. Ling Han received a notification from the arena. Someone had challenged him, and just as he was about to confirm, he received another notification. He had finished queuing up and could now fight the ranking battle. Without hesitation, Ling Han chose the ranking battle. He had waited for an hour, so of course it was a high priority. Why hasn't the battle started yet? That's not right, even the arena is gone. This guy ran away. What a joke, he ran away as soon as he saw God Guan. Can't help it, Guan Xian is an expert ranked in the 90 million, it's normal for him not to accept the challenge. Sigh, I was looking forward to it for nothing. Seeing that the battle had yet to start, everyone shook their heads. Guan Xian, who had challenged Ling Han, sneered and immediately posted on the forum, mocking Ling Han. At this time, Ling Han was in a daze in the arena. This ranking battle was different from the arena mode. After entering the arena, he had 3 minutes to adjust his state, and it was mandatory. How depressing, he could at least fight 2 or 3 matches in 3 minutes and earn 20 to 30 universe dollars. Finally, the 3-minute countdown passed, and the invisible barrier that had been restricting his area of activity disappeared, allowing him to move freely in this huge arena area. Of course, his opponent had also left the space that had been restricting him and walked out with large strides. Chapter 37:37. Ling Han could not help but laugh. How could this Zhao Yongxi know that he was not a rich second generation who could obtain the connecting device when he had just entered the Foundation Establishment realm? They were both in the Heaven Foundation Establishment realm, and he could even defeat a 5-star genius in the Ultimate Foundation Establishment realm. What was this Zhao Yongxi? Come, you win if you can block 10 moves from me. Ling Han crooked his finger. Zhao Yongxi could not help but be furious. He was a famous figure among the younger generation of the Fei Yuan planet. His background was extraordinary, and because of this, his family rules were very strict. He was only allowed to obtain the connecting device after passing the spirit test and come into contact with the wider world. He was not allowed to come into contact with the star web immediately because he was afraid that his Dao heart would be unstable, and he would lose his confidence after being beaten by even stronger geniuses. After the spirit test, his Dao heart would be stable. No matter how badly he was beaten, he would not lose his fighting spirit and become a useless person. Therefore, even though he was not ranked in the star web in terms of real strength, he could be ranked in the top 20 of the Foundation Establishment realm of the Fei Yuan planet. This was because he was in the Heaven Foundation Establishment realm. When he reached the Ultimate Foundation Establishment realm, he should be the #1 expert. After all, he was a 4-star genius, and there would only be one in every generation. Of course, in the star web, there were many 4-star geniuses, and there were even monsters that surpassed 4-star. He was a great genius, a great expert, and someone actually said that he could defeat him in 10 moves? This was really funny, a big joke. Boasting shamelessly. He smiled coldly and then leaped forward, charging toward Ling Han. Brat, today I will let you know the difference in strength. Remember this lesson and my name. Soon I, Zhao Yongxi, will be famous throughout the world. Ling Han stood still and did not move. When his opponent had reached him, he shot out a punch. Zhao Yongxi forcefully blocked it. Boom, the two forces collided, and his expression immediately changed. However, the vast energy had already surged over, and he was sent flying. In fact, there was no real collision of forces. It was just that the Star Web platform had simulated their mystic power, psychokinesis, and corresponding techniques. Why was it so real? That was naturally the means of a great emperor. Every ancestral king stood at the peak of the world, invincible in an era. Other than being unable to live forever, there was absolutely nothing they couldn't do. Ling Han shook his head and said, "That's all you have? You might not even be able to take 3 moves from me." He did not use his full strength, but even so, the power of his punch was still not something that Zhao Yongxi could contend with. Zhao Yongxi was a little startled. If it wasn't for the fact that Ling Han's number of battles couldn't be faked, he would have suspected that a cauldron-casting realm or even stronger genius was suppressing his cultivation to fight him. Why are they so strong? He was already a super rookie. How could anyone be more outstanding than him? Zhao Yongxi did not believe this. With a loud roar, he once again charged towards Ling Han. Ling Han absent-mindedly stretched out his hand to press, control, and block, yet he easily blocked all of Zhao Yongxi's attacks. Moreover, every time he blocked an attack, he would still have the remaining strength to strike back at Zhao Yongxi, causing him to feel extremely uncomfortable. 9 moves, he said with a smile. Zhao Yongxi didn't say anything. He already knew that it was impossible for him to defeat Ling Han. His only hope was to withstand 10 moves from Ling Han. It would lower his level, and it wouldn't be easy to earn big money in the future. Ling Han didn't log out of the Star Web platform. Instead, he went to the elixir store. There were many alchemists selling elixirs here. As long as you paid, you could directly find someone to pick up the goods. Of course, you could also choose to let them send it over, as long as the place you were at had a galactic-grade teleportation formation. The teleportation fees were at your own expense. Alchemist was a very scarce occupation, and the appearance of the Star Web was very beneficial to alchemists. It allowed the limited resources to be fought over by more people, which naturally increased the status of alchemists. What Ling Han wanted wasn't elixirs but a suitable elixir recipe. Elixir recipes were unique. As long as it appeared once on the Star Web platform, only the first seller could continue selling it. The others would be considered as pirated copies, and if discovered, there would be heavy penalties. Ling Han was searching for the elixir recipe that was most suitable for him. Firstly, he was only at the foundation establishment stage and had limited spiritual energy. He could at most refine 2-star elixirs, which was suitable for the caste tripod realm. This was a huge limitation. Secondly, he wanted to find an elixir recipe that few other alchemists could refine. This way, when he refined the same batch of elixirs, the benefits would be 10 times or even 100 times better than other alchemists of the same grade. It shall be you. Chapter 37-38. Foundation Transforming Pill. Ling Han chose this pill recipe. He believed that this pill recipe would bring him an astonishing amount of wealth. What was a foundation transforming pill? After consumption, it could dissolve the foundation of immortal Tao. Then wouldn't this thing be no different from poison to martial artists? Why would Ling Han choose it? That was because when one broke through to foundation establishment, they needed to first dissolve their own foundation of immortal Tao, and the foundation transforming pill could be of great help. For example, to break through from human foundation to heaven foundation, one had to first disintegrate the foundation of humanity, then use it as the core to forge a new foundation of immortal Tao. There was a problem. The foundation of immortal Tao was extremely sturdy, and some people didn't have the ability to shatter it. This wasn't a fight where one could forcefully shatter the foundation of immortal Tao. Therefore, the foundation transforming pill could be of great help. Moreover, the foundation transforming pill could also remove impurities, further purifying the foundation of immortal Tao. Many foundation transforming pills could be consumed to purify the foundation of immortal Tao step by step. The Heaven Foundation transforming pill created this way would definitely be more flawless and perfect. The more perfect the foundation of immortal Tao, the greater the suppression effect on other foundation of immortal Tao, and the greater the immunity against high-level foundation of immortal Tao or even immortal cauldrons. For example, Ling Han's foundation of immortal Tao was extremely perfect, and even saints couldn't suppress it. Once his foundation of immortal Tao appeared, which foundation establishment cultivator's strength wouldn't decrease sharply. After saying so much, the effects of the foundation transforming pill were obviously clear, but the problem was, since this pill was so useful, there should be many alchemists who concocted it, right? Once his foundation of immortal Tao appeared, which foundation establishment cultivator's strength wouldn't decrease sharply. This was about one of the raw materials of the foundation transforming pill. Actually, it couldn't be called a raw material, but when concocting the foundation transforming pill, alchemists needed to integrate a trace of their own immortal foundation power. This was crucial. Without this immortal foundation power, the foundation transforming pill would be a useless pill. This determined that only foundation establishment level alchemists could concoct the foundation transforming pill. But here came the problem. This foundation transforming pill was extremely difficult to concoct. Usually, only earth-grade alchemists had enough skill to concoct it. Alchemists also had cultivation requirements. For example, Ling Han was so monstrous in alchemy, but now, he could at most concoct human-level middle-grade celestial pills, and if he wanted to become an earth-grade alchemist, he had to at least have a cultivation of life core tier. Earth-grade alchemists did not have the power of immortal foundation, so how could they refine the foundation transforming pill? The foundation transforming pill was very expensive, and there was no market for it. This was because only a limited number of genius alchemists could refine it, and the foundation transforming pills that they refined were not for sale at all. Even their own forces were in short supply, so how could they sell them? Ling Han smiled. I'm the only one who can earn this money. He bought the pill recipe for the foundation transformation pill. This pill recipe was not too expensive, only 500 universe credits. Looking at the required materials, Ling Han grimaced. It was impossible to gather them on heavenly starry sky. Chapter 37-40. What an arrogant tone. Ma Ning clenched his teeth, full of jealousy. He didn't break the record and was far from the list, but Ling Han easily reached the 76th place. Even if he was arrogant, his strength was still there. There was no way to fight here, so Ma Ning didn't have to worry about Ling Han's strength crushing him. What, you want to beat me? Ling Han didn't bother to pay attention to him. He was a little surprised. Even though he didn't use his full strength, he only reached the 76th place. If his thoughts were known by others, he would definitely be cursed to death. You casually punched into the 76th place. What else do you want? Do you want to be number one? Ling Han gathered some power and used the beast monkey fist. Pung! He once again landed a blow on the strength measuring machine. 98,634. On the dynamometer, a terrifying number stopped, and Ling Han's name jumped from the 76th place to the 9th place. Crazy! Ma Ning and the others opened their mouths wide, completely speechless. Even though this was only the current ranking of the explosive power of the Heaven Building Foundation, to be able to enter the top 9, how amazing was this result? Come and see, a super badass appeared in the Building Foundation Power Club. Ma Ning and the others weren't the only ones here. It was just that the others didn't test their explosive power, but Ling Han made it into the list twice. The number was so big, how could no one see it? Maybe some people missed it the first time, but the second time was definitely witnessed by many. After calling for friends, people appeared one after another. This was the Star Web. Through the means of the Great Emperor, countless people's souls were connected across the universe. Naturally, they could reach each other with just a thought, without any sense of distance. In just a short while, there were countless people here. Fortunately, this was virtual. Once there were more people, the venue would automatically enlarge itself, so there was no need to worry about crowding. The first under the starry sky. Damn, how arrogant. Hey, I know this person. He was just fighting in the ring. That's him. Hey, didn't this guy run away at the last minute? Yeah, he met Guan Xian, and he didn't even dare to fight. Wait, that Guan Xian who ranked more than 90 million? That's him. This fellow's explosive power is already ranked 9th on the Heaven Foundation list, and you're telling me that he'll be afraid of someone who's ranked over 90 million on the Star Web? To be able to rush into the top 9 with explosive power at the Heaven Foundation establishment stage, this kind of battle prowess could be ranked quite high even among Extreme Foundation establishment stage cultivators. At the very least, it wouldn't be a problem for him to fight someone who was ranked in the 90 million. Desertion at the last minute, what a joke. It seems like this guy is still coming. Everyone saw Ling Han raise his fist again. No way, 9th place isn't enough? Boom! Ling Han punched out. This time, he wrapped his fist with the heavenly Tao flame, and the star web would simulate it. Another punch landed on the strength measuring machine, and the numbers started to sway. 138,621. It had reached a new high. Oh my god, almost 140,000. This guy's battle prowess can probably crush 99% of Foundation establishment cultivators. Whoever dares to say he's a coward, I'll drown that Guan Xian with my spit. That's terrifying. 140,000 standard force. Even among Extreme Foundation establishment cultivators, he'll probably be ranked in the top 1,000. Yes, someone did an experiment before. 100,000 standard force for Heaven Foundation establishment stage is equivalent to 10,000 standard force for Extreme Foundation establishment stage. This result can definitely put him in the top 1,000 of the Extreme Foundation list. Everyone was shouting and feeling their scalps go numb. Ma Ning and the others were completely silent, and they retreated to the side with their tails between their legs. In front of them was a rising star that could illuminate the universe. Compared to him, they were just a fart. What's his rank? Number 2. Oh my god. It was impossible to be number 1, because the first place would always be number 1. Regardless of whether the record holder was a Foundation establishment cultivator or an ancestral king, the record would never be removed. Countless years had passed, and countless prodigies had pushed this record higher. To reach the top, one had to surpass all the prodigies in history. Was that even possible? The super monster Shi had just appeared, and he even surpassed many ancestral kings back then. Could someone even more monstrous come out? What a pity. Yes, if this person appeared before Shi, then he might really be able to surpass all the others and become number 1. But now, he can only settle for number 2. However, being number 2 under the starry sky is still extremely awesome. He's unlucky to have met Shi. There's also Myriad Daos and Heavenbreaker. Although they were suppressed by Shi in terms of power, they broke the record in terms of speed and perception. Their overall strength is not weak at all. It's a tragedy for every prodigy to be born in the current era, especially with those 3 monsters. Everyone shook their heads. Ling Han's result was indeed amazing, but now there was a monster like Shi who firmly suppressed him. In the past, it was enough to reach number 2 because the number 1 was already an almighty who had passed away countless years ago. But it was different this time. Shi was still alive and well, and he was only at the Extreme Foundation establishment stage. Ling Han was also a little surprised. He used the Demon Monkey Fist and the Heavenly Flame, but he still couldn't reach number 1. This Shi was really strong. Ling Han used the Demon Monkey Fist again, this time with 108 frequency attacks and the Heavenly Flame. Boom, he smashed heavily on the dynamometer. 195,574. Everyone was petrified again, unable to say a word. As it turned out, a standard force of over 130,000 was not Ling Han's limit. This guy had almost blasted out a standard force of 200,000. This kind of explosive power can rank around 800 among the Extreme Foundation establishment stage. Oh my god, the Heaven Foundation establishment stage is so strong. Of course. Don't you know that Shi hit 300,000 standard force, enough to rank 120 to 130 on the Extreme Foundation list? In comparison, this person is still much weaker. Yes, indeed. Everyone regained their ability to speak, but even if Ling Han was not as strong as Shi, he was still extremely terrifying. Because of this, more people appeared, all of them crazy. Guan Xian had also arrived, yet he was spouting nonsense, making a big deal out of Ling Han's previous fear of battle, desperately trying to make himself look good. Ling Han, on the other hand, was shocked. This Shi was so strong that he could hit 300,000 standard force. This was 50% more than him. Ling Han took a deep breath. It seemed that he needed to go all out. Shi could surpass the ancient prodigies not because they were weak, but because he was too freakish. Ling Han used the 3 forms of the war god. At the same time, he activated the destructive power and simulated the 2 immortal Dao Foundation stones inside his body, releasing their power together. He used his ocular technique to search for weak points on the dynamometer's surface, which would allow him to unleash more destructive power. Chapter 3741. Ling Han's figure charged out, and he delivered his 3 strongest attacks. 3 styles of the war god, the first strike. Ong! Ling Han's palms struck furiously, landing on the strength measuring machine. A number jumped up, but it only showed over 200,000. Before it stopped, Ling Han unleashed the second style of the 3 styles of the war god. Bang! This time, the number on the dynamometer soared to over 290,000. First. Fuck, I've surpassed Shi. First of all time. Oh my god, I must be dreaming. Shi's record has been broken, and a new first of all time has been born. Holy crap, records get harder and harder to break. Shi broke the record from 300 million years ago, but now, his record has only been maintained for a little more than a year. First under the starry sky. First under the starry sky. Everyone was in a frenzy. Although Ling Han had only surpassed Shi by a tiny bit, he had still surpassed Shi. The strongest record since the ancient times could only be surpassed by a tiny bit. Otherwise, where would the previous generations of geniuses stand? However, this wasn't the end. Ling Han unleashed the last style of the war god's 3 styles. The instant his palms slammed onto the dynamometer, he opened his mouth and spat out a golden sword. Boom! It was as if the entire star web was shaking. An even higher number popped up. 312,526. In an instant, the people who were so excited that their scalps went numb were petrified again, unable to utter a single word. The record had been broken again. Ling Han had broken the record that he had just created, and the previous record was definitely the shortest-lived record in history. It had only existed for a mere second. It had broken 300,000. Throughout history, in order to rank first on the Heavenly Foundation list, one had to unleash a standard force of over 200,000. It was just that the higher the record, the harder it was to break it. Even Shi, the previous first of all time, only managed to unleash a standard force of over 290,000. However, Ling Han had managed to push this record to 300,000 in a short while. Everyone looked at Ling Han with worshipful gazes. He was the number one throughout the ages. Even the ancestors and saints of the past had been surpassed by Ling Han. Being number one in the Heaven Foundation doesn't mean anything. You know, a lot of ancient monarchs have never been number one. Some were only in the top 10, but in the end, they suppressed all the other Heaven's favorites and became the ruler of an era. Someone deliberately belittled Ling Han. If you have the ability, go and create a record. If you don't have the ability, then stop grumbling. This is the number one throughout the ages, surpassing all geniuses of the past. No matter what, he is worthy of respect and praise. Not bad. There was no need for Ling Han to say anything. Immediately, there were many people targeting him, and the person who spoke just now was flushed with embarrassment. On the dynamometer, Ling Han's name was replaced. Number one under the starry sky shone brightly. Needless to say, these 6 words were enough to explain everything. Number one under the starry sky has broken the Heaven Foundation explosive power record. Special reward of 1,000 universe dollars. A cold voice sounded, but it instantly spread throughout the entire star web. It was the soul of the interstellar web. What? The Heaven Foundation explosive power record has been broken? You must be joking. Wasn't it broken just over a year ago? Even the soul of the star web is announced to the entire platform. It can't be fake. Hiss, this number one under the starry sky is really awesome. But then again, this guy's confidence is off the charts. He actually dares to call himself number one under the starry sky. In terms of explosive power alone, he is indeed the number one in the Heaven Foundation. This caused a huge uproar on the star web. Everyone began to search for this number one under the starry sky to be able to break the eternal record. Although it was only one item, if it was spread throughout the universe, Ling Han's record would be maintained for hundreds of millions of years or even longer. Everyone was dumbfounded after a quick check. It turned out that this number one under the starry sky had just entered the star web. Comparing oneself to others was really infuriating. They had struggled on the star web for God knows how long, but they hadn't broken a single record. But look at Ling Han. He had only entered the star web for one day, but his name had already shaken the world. Ling Han, on the other hand, gritted his teeth. Now that he was exposed, how was he going to earn money in the arena? Who would fight him? Yes, he could only count on those who had reached the extreme foundation. However, the Chang clan was really stingy, only giving 1,000 universe dollars for breaking a record. He had blamed the Chang clan wrongly. The various settings of the star web were decided by the 4 great emperors back then. The Chang clan only had power, but they couldn't interfere with the operation of the star web. The soul of the star web was the true ruler. To the 4 great emperors, the glory of breaking a record naturally surpassed everything. 1,000 universe dollars was just a gesture. Who knew that Ling Han was poor? To him, giving more universe dollars was the way to go. However, many a little makes a mickle. If he broke a few more records, his gains wouldn't be small either. He left the strength test machine to find new opportunities to make money. If others knew what he was thinking, they would definitely curse him. No matter what record you broke, as long as you exposed your identity in the real world, which great sect wouldn't rush over to take you in as a disciple? Such a talent would be tempted even by the emperor clans. Ling Han arrived in front of the fist strength record. The 3 forms of the war god was a palm technique. If he used the demon monkey fist now, could he break the record again? The holder of this record was also Shi. Before Ling Han could make a move, a person strode over. The others all scattered to make a path for him. This was because this person was a true self-realm expert. Planet Feng Nan's Li Leidong, a true self-realm expert. The Li clan is a sect master-level force. Wrong, the Li clan's genius just broke through to the Four Extremities realm not long ago and became a sovereign. The Li clan is now a sovereign-level force. No wonder he dared to come and recruit him. I was thinking that even the current sect master-level forces wouldn't dare to recruit this person. Everyone nodded. Sect master-level forces were indeed extraordinary, but they still didn't have the qualifications to take in a genius who broke the record. Even if such an existence couldn't become an ancestral emperor, he had a high chance of becoming a saint. Sect master-level forces weren't enough. Li Leidong arrived in front of Ling Han and smiled. "Young man, are you interested in joining our Li clan?" "Ha, how can the Li clan compare to our Wang clan?" Another voice rang out as a middle-aged man walked out from the crowd. "Wang Jian." Li Leidong's eyes narrowed. The Wang clan was a powerful clan on planet Yongmang, and they had an old sovereign who had reached the Four Extremities realm tens of thousands of years ago. "Li Leidong, your Li clan has just become a sovereign-level force. Compared to my Wang clan, you're too weak," Wang Jian said arrogantly. Chapter 3742. Li Leidong snorted, "My Li family's venerable is a genius. Although he has just become a venerable, his future is limitless. It's not impossible for him to become a saint." "Ha!" Wang Jian laughed, "You're making me laugh. Do you think saints are cabbages? Any genius would have to bow their heads in front of a saint. To become a saint requires not only talent but also luck." "Wang Jian, do you dare to look down on my venerable?" Li Leidong said with a murderous tone. Wang Jian didn't reply. The Wang family could fight against the Li family, and even be a bit stronger, but he absolutely couldn't speak rudely to a supreme expert. Otherwise, if the supreme expert of the Li family made a move and killed him, no one would avenge him. The strong needed to be respected, especially those at the sect master level. They couldn't be slandered by the weak. "Young man, what do you choose?" Wang Jian looked at Ling Han. What was the point of fighting with Li Leidong? "Join the Li family and we'll guarantee you cultivation resources," Li Leidong quickly said. "Haha, how can a newly promoted venerable compare to my Wang family?" Wang Jian snorted. Ling Han didn't want to pay attention to anyone. He yearned for freedom and would never join any power. Could the resources of these powers be taken for free? Everything had a price. There was no such thing as a free lunch in this world. He activated the demon monkey fist and infused it with destructive energy. Then he rushed out and punched. Pung! The dynamometer immediately displayed a number, and it started to jump rapidly. More than 280,000. This was on the list, but it didn't break the record. The first place was still Shi. Shi broke the record with his fist technique, reaching 290,000 standard force, someone said. So that was how it was. Although Ling Han broke the record for explosive force, it didn't mean he was number one in all aspects. "Young man, we're talking to you," Li Leidong shouted angrily. This Little Heaven Foundation establishment cultivator dared to ignore him. Who did he think he was? So what if he broke the record? His cultivation was too low. In this world, no matter how much of a genius you were, you had to respect the strong. Ling Han just glanced at him and turned to leave. Since he couldn't break this record, he would break other records. There were all kinds of records here anyway. "Stop right there," Li Leidong roared. Ling Han pretended not to hear anything and continued to move forward. "I told you to stop," Li Leidong said word by word. He was angered by the young man in front of him. Ling Han had this kind of ability. He could easily enrage others, even if this person was here to recruit him. Ling Han still didn't pay attention. He saw the record of leg strength, but the record was not set by Shi, but by a man named Hengshan. Hengshan was a saint, but he had already passed away. It was rumored that he was an outstanding genius in the past, a strong contender to become an emperor or ancestor. From the fact that he had created a record for the strength of his legs, one could tell that he indeed possessed astonishing talent. Unfortunately, being stunned for a moment didn't mean that he would be stunned forever. Angshan's sage still lost in the end and stopped at the sage realm. Then let's try this record. Ling Han tried, but although he easily entered the list, he still couldn't break the record. He sighed. Even though he had broken the eternal record of explosive power, when it came to fist strength, leg strength, and other aspects, he was still not the strongest throughout the ages. This was because he hadn't reached the peak of Heaven Foundation, and his fist and leg techniques weren't strong enough. Let's take it slow. Breaking all the records in one day was quite boring. You! Li Leidong roared from the side. He was already furious. Ling Han glared at him and said, "What are you shouting for? If you're not convinced, let's fight at the same level in the arena. If you can block 10 moves from me, you win." Li Leidong wanted to agree, but as soon as he opened his mouth, he forcefully swallowed his words. In a battle at the same level, who could be a match for the guy with the strongest explosive strength in history? He wasn't just the strongest in the present age, but the strongest in all of history. The value was completely different. If he agreed stubbornly, he would only be humiliating himself. Ling Han's heart skipped a beat. He received another notification from the Star Web. It had been an hour since he had queued up, and he could fight in the ranking battle. Confirm. Xiao, Ling Han suddenly disappeared into thin air and appeared in the arena. His opponent was a young girl, and when she realized that her opponent was Ling Han, she couldn't help but scream. "You're the strongest person in the universe, the one who just broke the Heaven Foundation explosive strength record." The young girl was so excited that her words were somewhat incoherent, and her eyes were shining. "I worship you so much, you're my idol." Ling Han couldn't help but sweat. "We're fighting right now." "Idol, how could I be your opponent?" The young girl hurriedly said. "Idol, let's take a photo." She moved over and paid for the Star Web to turn on the recording function. Then she circled around Ling Han and posed in all sorts of positions. After a long time, she was finally satisfied and automatically admitted defeat. Her figure instantly disappeared. In this battle, Ling Han still obtained 11 points. He thought about it and logged out of the Star Web platform. Phew, Ling Han stood up and pushed the door open. In just a short span of 2 hours, he had already set off a storm on the Star Web. Now, everyone would remember the strongest person in the universe, and there would definitely be countless forces looking for him. Ling Han found Lin Luo and the others, and they became friends on the Star Web. He then transferred some universe dollars to each of them. Following this, Ling Han believed that Lin Luo and the others would also stand out on the Star Web and become the generation of supernovas. The connector itself had the function of an optical computer, and it could store information. As long as it was downloaded, it could be viewed even if it couldn't connect to the Star Web. However, with Ling Han's memory, he naturally didn't need to specially turn on the optical computer to look at the pill recipe for the Foundation transformation pill. He only needed to recall it in his mind, and the pill recipe clearly appeared for him to simulate refining. After an hour, Ling Han believed that as long as he had the raw materials, he would at most fail once or twice, and after summarizing his experience, he would be able to refine the pill successfully. The night passed quietly, and the next morning, after Ling Han finished his cultivation, he began to practice the Demon Monkey Fist. Monkey Bro's ancestor was an ancestor king who was invincible for an era. The Demon Monkey Fist that he created was naturally a dignified emperor technique. In the world of emperors, who was weaker than who? If he could break the record with the 3 styles of the war god, why couldn't he use the Demon Monkey Fist? It wasn't that the Demon Monkey Fist was weak, but that he couldn't unleash the true power of the Demon Monkey Fist. "Let's go find Monkey Bro," Ling Han murmured. "Firstly, I've already entered the Foundation establishment stage, and my formation skills have greatly improved. I'm qualified to try and break an immortal grade formation. Secondly, I still have the chaotic extreme thunder pagoda, which should be of help to Monkey Bro. Let's see if I can help Monkey Bro escape this time." Chapter 3744. Brother Monkey roared. A ray of golden light emerged from the top of his head and transformed into a little monkey. It flew toward the chaotic Polaris Thunder Tower. Ling Han suddenly remembered and said, Brother Monkey, there's still the heavenly Tao fire in the tower. This fire could even burn a supremacy to death. He didn't want to accidentally kill Brother Monkey. Squeak. Brother Monkey quickly stopped. The little monkey flashed and rushed back into Brother Monkey's body. Really? Brother Monkey asked. Ling Han nodded. When I was forging the chaotic Polaris Thunder Tower, I went to the place with the heavenly Tao fire. Yes, without the heavenly Tao fire, it's impossible to forge the shape of the Mother Gold. Brother Monkey nodded. After I forged the sovereign weapon, I used the internal space of the sovereign weapon to store some of the heavenly Tao fire. However, after the heavenly Tao fire was stored, its power was greatly reduced. It could only burn supremacies to death, Ling Han said. The corner of Monkey King's mouth twitched when he saw how arrogant he was. He was only a sect leader. Even in front of the weakened version of the heavenly Tao fire, he could only kneel. It'll be easy if you have the heavenly Tao fire. Second brother, go to the top of the mountain and pour the heavenly Tao fire out, Brother Monkey said. Ling Han was startled and asked, Will that hurt you? It's okay. The heavenly Tao fire can easily burn this formation. Before the fire reaches me, I'll be free, Brother Monkey said proudly. Monkey King said proudly. Then he changed the topic and said, However, just in case, let us leave first. Ling Han began to evacuate the monkeys from the Monkey Valley. This included the Empress, the large black dog, and the others. Then he returned to the Monkey Valley alone and flew to the mountain peak. Brother Monkey, I'm going to start. Let's start. With a thought from Ling Han, the heavenly Tao fire immediately surged out from the 8th level of the chaotic Polaris Thunder Tower. It boiled and burned at the top of the mountain and quickly spread to the waist of the mountain. He quickly flew away on the chaotic Polaris Thunder Tower. The birth of Brother Monkey would definitely be earth-shattering. Hong, the heavenly Tao flames spread extremely quickly, surging all the way down the mountain. There was nothing it couldn't burn, nothing it couldn't extinguish. This was an extreme flame that could even burn a venerable to death, so it could be considered a half-saint. Ling Han is a little anxious. Why hasn't Monkey King been born yet? If the heavenly fire really reached the foot of the mountain, it would not be a joke. He decided to go to the foot of the mountain to have a look. If the Monkey King couldn't make it, he would take the heavenly fire away. Of course, it was impossible to take all of them, but it should be no problem if he only took the ones around the Monkey King. However, before Ling Han could make a move, pung, there was an earth-shattering sound, and the mountain below suddenly exploded. A figure shot out from below like a stream of light, piercing through the sky. Old son am out. In the blink of an eye, the stream of light shot down from the sky and turned into a furry monkey. This monkey was covered in golden fur and was 1 zhang tall. Its eyes were fiery golden eyes and it exuded a ferocious aura. It looked around disdainfully as if it did not even place the heavens and earth in its eyes. It was Monkey King. Ling Han felt that it was a bit of an eyesore because Monkey King's body was completely bare. Fortunately, it was covered in fur, or it would have left a psychological scar. Come! Monkey King shouted. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Countless golden shadows flew toward him. They stuck to his body and turned into a shining golden armor. Then he reached into his ear and immediately took out a golden needle. Chapter 3745. In just a few hours, Ling Han had returned to the imperial capital. Brother Monkey was walking around casually while Ling Han logged into the Star Web. During this month, he had been practicing the Demon Monkey Fist without eating or sleeping. He didn't rest for more than an hour every day. It was really just to let his brain rest. In such a state, he naturally didn't have time to log into the Star Web. As soon as he logged into the Star Web, he immediately received a lot of friend requests. Dao friend, I have something important to discuss with you. Young man, this old man is from the Nine-Wind Sacred Land. Brother, please accept it. Most of the application messages were accompanied by annotations, and Ling Han only read a few of them before choosing to ignore them. He didn't log into the Star Web to fight for rankings or to earn money, but he heard from Brother Monkey that the Star Web had a function called the Time Room. In the Time Room, time would pass many times faster than normal. It was similar to the reincarnation tree, which only targeted the soul. However, the time room's fee was very high. Using 1 day as an example, it would cost 100 universe dollars by 2 times, 500 by 3 times, 10 times, and 5 million by 100 times. Ling Han might have earned some money, but he could only choose to cultivate at twice the speed for a few days. However, Brother Monkey was rich and overbearing. He let Ling Han choose the best time room because he was rich. Back in the day, he was a sect master-level almighty. Such an existence could be called an expert anywhere in the universe. His ability to earn money was naturally great. Even if Brother Monkey was captured and suppressed back then, it wouldn't be taken away by the Azure Dragon Empire. After becoming friends with Brother Monkey, a transfer message came immediately. You have earned 100 million universe dollars. Damn. Ling Han gritted his teeth. Brother Monkey was indeed rich. Alright, he was in urgent need of universe dollars now. It wouldn't be too late to pay in the future. He asked for a time room with 100 times the time flow and let the platform automatically deduct the money until he walked out or until he ran out of universe dollars. In the time room, Ling Han continued to practice the demon monkey fist. It required a lot of time to practice. Under normal circumstances, it was normal to take 100 or 1,000 years to master the core. But Ling Han couldn't wait that long. He wanted to master this fist technique as soon as possible. Fortunately, Monkey King was here. Ling Han entered the time room and began to practice his punches. This was 100 times time acceleration. Very quickly, a year passed and then another year. His attainments in the demon monkey fist grew deeper and deeper. Why did he only start to practice in the time room now? There was no other way. He didn't grasp the surface before, so he needed Monkey King to guide him step by step. Now he finally grasped the general idea and could practice by himself. 3 years, 5 years, time flew by. Ling Han was now a pure spiritual body, so he could put all his energy into practicing his fist techniques. He wanted to continue practicing, but he was forced to leave the time room. 100 million universe credits had been completely deducted. So fast? Ling Han thought about it. 100 million universe credits could only allow him to cultivate here for 20 days in real time. Even if it was 100 times faster, it would only be 2,000 days, a little more than 5 years. He didn't have enough money. The Chang clan was truly black-hearted, charging so much. However, he had finally grasped a move of the demon monkey fist. There was only one move, while the real demon monkey fist had 9 moves. The first move was also the simplest. 5 years, and he had only grasped one move, and it was the simplest. Ling Han sighed. After communicating with Lin Luo and the others, Ling Han also finished queuing up and began the ranking battle. A battle quickly ended, and as soon as Ling Han exited the arena, he received a friend request, and the person who sent the request was Shi, the mysterious genius who had created the record for maximum strength, and there were still many records he had created in the strength hall. Ling Han thought about it and accepted Shi Yi's friend request. Battle! The other party sent a single word, simple and direct. All right. Ling Han also replied with a single word. In just a short while, Shi Yi sent a ring number. Ling Han took a look and saw that this ring was set to absolute realms. In such a ring battle, not only would the two parties be in the same realm, but they would also be in the same realm. It could be said to be a battle of the same realm. There were no conditions for the battle, and it was only set that only Ling Han could enter the ring. However, although the arena had a limit on the opponents, there were no restrictions on the audience. Everyone could enter and watch the battle. A single stone caused 1,000 ripples. Everyone come quickly. Shi Yi is going to fight the number 1 under the starry sky. Chapter 3746. Shi One's battle with the number 1 under the starry skies. This was an extremely explosive piece of news. Both of them had created records for extreme strength, and the gap between them was only a little over a year. To think that 2 such geniuses could appear in the same era. When Ling Han broke the record set by Shi One over a month ago, many people were guessing who would win if Shi One and Ling Han were to fight at the same rank. Many people also posted on the forums, encouraging Shi to challenge Ling Han or Ling Han to challenge Shi. However, Shi remained silent, and Ling Han had not logged into the star web for over a month, so the passers-by could only get excited for nothing. Now, Shi finally made a move and challenged Ling Han. Would Ling Han agree? Many people entered the arena at the first moment, waiting for Ling Han to appear. However, Ling Han did not show up even after a long time. Afraid to fight? That's right. The news should have spread long ago, but the number one under the starry skies still hasn't appeared. He must be afraid to fight. Damn, what number one under the starry skies? How dare he brag? He doesn't even dare to fight at the same rank. What number one under the starry skies? Everyone was disdainful, but just as they were talking excitedly, they saw that they were forced out of the arena area. What's going on? They immediately realized that Shi had cancelled the arena. He left in a huff? Look, the number one under the starry skies opened another arena and challenged Shi. Shi has already entered. Quick, let's go too. There's a fee to watch the battle. Damn, it actually costs $1,000 US. What a scam. This is daylight robbery. Everyone made a big fuss. There was actually a fee? Shi had not charged any fees just now. They all had a guess. Could it be that Ling Han did not accept the challenge not because he was afraid to fight, but because he wanted to open up the arena and collect money? This money grubber, you only care about money. A battle between two extreme strength practitioners in history was such a sacred and solemn event, and you actually charged a fee? It couldn't be helped. No one wanted to miss such a battle. Even if some people could record it, most people still wanted to see it for themselves. Isn't it just 1,000 universe credits? Everyone could not hold back their urge to witness it with their own eyes. They all chose to let StarWeb deduct $1,000 universe and entered the arena viewing area. $1,000 universe to watch a battle was ridiculously expensive, but the two combatants were the strongest in history. Who would want to miss such a battle? There was no lack of true disciples of great sects and important descendants of aristocratic families in the universe. Gritting his teeth, he could afford 1,000 universe credits. Of course, Ling Han must be gnashing his teeth in hatred. This person was too good at making money. Ling Han didn't care at all. For such a matchless battle, if he didn't collect some money, how could he face himself? He was very poor now. You've obtained 999 universe dollars. You've obtained 999 universe dollars. Ling Han kept receiving notifications from the star web, and his wallet was rapidly bulging. Why aren't you starting? Opposite him, Shi seemed very dissatisfied. No matter what, you're the one who broke the ancient record, but now, in order to earn some money, you're forcefully dragging me into his arena. A good duel of the strongest had actually turned into such a stink of money. It's your business to be shameless, but you can't drag me down with you. Wait a little longer, wait a little longer. Ling Han waved his hand. As he listened to the notification from the star web, his heart was filled with delight. Let the universe credits fly for a while longer. He lost his patience again. With a loud roar, he charged at Ling Han. How could such a money grubber stand side by side with him? Shi was very tall and burly, like the incarnation of an ancient giant. Even though he was a spiritual body, his arms were wrapped with the phantoms of a dragon and a phoenix. Innate divine body, dragon phoenix everlasting holy body. Everyone exclaimed. It was no secret that Shi had an innate divine body, but most people didn't have the chance to see him. It was only hearsay, and now that they saw it, it was indeed true. What was a holy body? Only a first-rate innate divine body was qualified to be called a holy body. It was synonymous with power. He punched out, and two bursts of fist power shot out, respectively transforming into a dragon and a phoenix that charged towards Ling Han. Ling Han, of course, wasn't afraid. He used the three forms of the war god to meet Shi's attack. The three forms of the war god was his ultimate move that broke the ancient record, so its power was naturally shocking. Its limit was even higher than Shi's. The two clashed. Both of them had broken the limit of strength record. Not only were they at the peak of Heaven Foundation, but they were also the strongest since time immemorial. Attacks exploded one after another. The entire arena seemed to tremble as countless runes flashed. Too scary, really too scary. Even though I'm an extreme foundation, I'm sure I'll be crushed if I touch them. Two monsters. The power of a Heaven Foundation cultivator can be this strong. Just how did he cultivate it? Everyone was dazzled and couldn't control themselves. However, Ling Han realized that even though the star web was built by a great emperor, it still had its shortcomings. If he were to execute the three forms of the war god in the real world, his body would be filled with the force of the heavens and earth to the point where he wouldn't be able to execute the three forms of the war god. Otherwise, his body would definitely explode. However, he was in a pure spiritual form now, so he didn't have to worry about his body being overloaded. He used the three forms of the war god over and over again without any side effects. Moreover, he didn't have to worry about exhausting his secret force at all. He could use all kinds of ultimate moves to his heart's content. Therefore, Ling Han believed that the experts on the star web were indeed powerful, but if the difference in ranking was within 10 or even 100 ranks, the one with the lower ranking might win in the real world. Considering all kinds of practical problems, a martial artist's strength would change greatly. Moreover, here, everyone didn't have to worry about the problem of mystic power exhaustion, but in the real world, perhaps only Ling Han didn't have to worry about this. Thus, fighting in the star web, this advantage of his was completely covered. There was also the artifact. Ling Han had a future emperor weapon, but the star web wouldn't simulate the artifact as well. Of course, he could also choose to use weapons in the arena, but they would only have the original attributes and wouldn't have any additional effects. Ling Han nodded secretly. The star web could connect everyone in the universe, which was already extremely shocking. It couldn't be perfect. Even so, it couldn't cover up Shi Yi's strength. He was truly powerful. His fist art was like a torrential storm, and the star web had perfectly manifested his innate divine body. The two divine beasts, the dragon and the phoenix, were both releasing powerful might. It was as if he wasn't fighting alone, but the celestial dragon and celestial phoenix were working together. As expected of the person who broke the extreme strength record. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.